Alright, welcome to the most boring video on Wingspan, because we're not even going to look at Wingspan for a great deal of time here. This is my deep dive into Wetlands Engines, and well, we're going deep. We're going really deep. If you are just starting out in Wingspan, do not watch this video. It will not help you. However, if you're at that kind of medium to upper skill range, there's probably going to be some interesting stuff in here. A lot of it will just confirm what you already know, but I think it's also useful just to see it. So what is this? This is about 1,500 games, about 3,000 boards or so, of my own games. So caveat, it is my own games, so I'm not the best Wetlands player. So, half the Wetlands games are mine, and they're going to be terrible. Half the Wetlands games are everybody else. So, I don't know. But it's a lot of data, and I went through it, and I've done a bunch of analysis on that to try and really extract the ideas behind what makes a tuck engine work, what should you be looking for, both from the player perspective and the counter-player perspective. What do you worry about, what do you not worry about? And we got lots of numbers. If you like numbers, and you don't like looking at Wingspan, but you like looking at numbers, then this is definitely the video for you. So, this is also going to be a long video. We're going to look at some examples of wetland games as well. Like, we're going hard. We're going real hard. So you might want to play the game at home of how many times does the does the Wingspan soundtrack loop during this video. Hopefully not too many times. Alright, let's begin. So in order to do the analysis, I've got a record of all of my games end screen. That's not when birds were played, but just what birds are played on the board, as well as their meta properties, such as do they have tucks, caches, and so on and so forth. I, from that particular perspective, have then back propagated some kind of definition for what a tuck engine should look like. So throughout, we're looking at games that meet this criteria. Wetland tucks are at least 20, and we have at least 4 wetlands birds. There are games like, I've had a very silly flamingo game that you've seen on this channel, where I get 21 tucks on the flamingo, and it's definitely not a wetlands tuck engine game. So we've just kind of filtered that all out, and really done what we can. Now, this is for tuck engines. It doesn't really deal with the pivot side of things. We'll talk about pivots in a moment, but that's basically the criteria. We have about 221 boards that meet this criteria. So that's a little bit less than 10% of all games end up in this kind of wetland tuck scenario. So again, these are the numbers that we're dealing with, and I can't make more boards, I'm sorry. Just to be sure that we're not splitting anything out, so this kind of 15 to 19 tuck band, not super interesting. Like, there's only 49 games that meet that criteria. I think this is usually a bunch of pivots, or things that have tried to pivot and failed. Similarly, this kind of just above threshold is similar. I think this makes sense. Alright, the first classification that I want to do on tuck engines is kind of, I looked at the win rate and number of tucks kind of per different archetypes. Well, per numbers of birds played, I should say, and then classified that into archetypes. So we kind of have got, I think, 3 clear patterns when it comes to building a wetlands engine. You have your full tuck, which I'm calling less than 7 birds played, and meeting the tuck criteria. Now, less than 7 is important because that is 5 wetlands birds plus the 2 in the forest and the grasslands. And I think we'll call that a full tuck board. Now, full tuck doesn't need 7. I think there are some scary full tuck boards that don't use the Mute Swan, Orthalion Gull, 4-bird crazy tuck engine kind of game. Like, those kinds of games exist, so definitely don't need 7 birds to meet this criteria. You could have 5. We've all had games where we've had 5 birds and just pumped out a million tucks, but that's where I'm calling full tuck. Not very common, only about 49 games, so 1% of the overall sample. Mid tuck, which I'm calling if you're going for a full tuck strategy, so this kind of 20 tucks or more, and only playing 8 or 9 birds, so that's interesting because that is 1 round of egg lay. So 1 egg, 2 egg extra, being able to play 1 or 2 more birds. Then we're going to go to this kind of tuck and play situation, which is basically I think the desirable way to play Wetlands. The win rate totally backs me up on this, and that's when you're basically, you build out a tuck engine, but the tuck engine is productive, you're building food, you're building eggs, and are able to then also do like double, triple plays in various habitats, score lots of points by also competing on bonuses and things like that. So you'll see immediately that the win rate kind of dips around this mid-tuck range. The full tuck, you're just hard committed, just go tuck as much as you can. Usually these are games where you're set up very quickly. 50-50 win rate, I think that's probably a touch high. I think full tuck is not very good in Oceania. You give up way too many points, but you know, it is on your opponent to score more than you. You're probably going to score 111, 114, around that range. And you have your opponent to do better than that, which they won't always be able to do. You see a big win rate dip at mid-tuck, and I think that is in itself a very interesting find. Basically to say that if you are generating... So I'm not analyzing all the boards that are in this, but I think that the conclusion I draw from this is that if you are building a tuck engine, it is not worth going out of your way to lay eggs, get food, play 2 birds. It doesn't make any sense to do that. So you really need to be generating these as part of your engine to kind of score big. Now, whether or not that the mid-tuck boards actually do have some of these played bird like some of these tuck components that score productive points, like eggs and food, I don't know. But just to say that if you're only playing a couple more birds, your win rate's not that great. Whereas tuck and play, which is, as we kind of already outlined, you know, being able to get more than just the baseline birds into the game, jumps up to about 63% win rate, which is significantly higher than base, by the way. So the base win rate's about 50%. This is 13 percentage points above that. So very interesting. And again, if you play a lot of Wingspan, this is not surprising. Let's talk about the failed set. So I think there are about 176 pivot games in my database. So we're looking at things here of more than 8 tucks, but less than 20, with at least 2 wetland tucking birds. So we've all had these games like you do like main duck, you do like barn swallow, you keep tucking, you're tucking, and then you're like, oh crap, I actually don't have enough to continue the game, whereas I've got some stuff here that I can potentially pivot into, so you pivot and away you go. Pivoting is costly. I mean, you still have a chance to win, obviously, it's 43%, but all that time you have invested in the wetlands is costing you about 6 percentage points from baseline. So it's losing, but it's not unplayable. If you've got the right stuff to be pivoting, then you should pivot. Like, there's no reason not to pivot. But just pointing that out, that we did do a little look on that, and that's just kind of the way that it is. Alright, so let's continue on and talk about some of the key birds that you see in the tuck engine. So obviously we have our mass tuckers, Bioweaver, Mute Swarm, Main Duck, Rosy Starling, Eurasian Coot, Common Chiffchaff, and unsurprisingly, Common Chiffchaff is right at the bottom. My old mantra of never trust Chiffchaff is pretty much validated here. It is a terrible, terrible bird. Now, very tellingly, the productive birds, so the Rosy Starling and above, scoring well. Eurasian Coot is interesting. I mean, it's not played often, but when it is played, it's played well. Whereas I think people do overfocus on this Chiffchaff quite a bit. The most surprising thing that I saw when I looked at this data for the first time was that Bioweaver is just so far above everything else. It's actually kind of insane. And I don't really know why that is. Everything about this bird doesn't suggest that it's as good as being 11 percentage points above baseline. But hey, here we are. I think the reasons why I'm surprised is because it only has 3 egg slots, so it can be difficult to continually score off this bird. On the other hand, yes, you can score 4 points a turn, theoretically, if you're playing this bird and using it well. So that is definitely, I'm not immune to that fact, but that is just very interesting. But also, it costs 3 food, and 3 food is usually I'm not gonna say damning, but a big constricting factor when it goes into the wetlands, because you don't have a lot of food, so 3-cost birds really need to earn their place. I mean, Weaver clearly is, but like, I'm surprised that it is, if that makes any sense. The next surprise here was Mute Swan and Main Duck kind of being about the same, and I think that's because I think we're not seeing the failures in this dataset. I think Main Duck is a better bird than Mute Swan because it does allow you to just play it and not commit to a wetlands, whereas Mute Swan and the wetlands, if you don't commit to a wetlands off of Mute Swan, then it is basically just a really expensive barn swallow, and that doesn't feel good. But obviously, as part of a Wetlands engine, Mute Swan is really, really strong because it gives you that extra card back. So it's effectively, in a Wetlands engine, a +4 bird if you can use it. So 3 points for the tucks plus the 1 additional one that you get back, whereas Main Duck is only +3 in a food. So very interesting. Last thing I'll call out is Starling sitting a little bit below Main Duck here. I think that's just because of the awkward food cost, having to cost one worm, 1 seed, 1 fruit. I mean, still a good bird to be playing, but I think the awkwardness of that additional food basically is leading to it to have lower win rate. Whereas Main Duck is super generous, like 2 Omnis is easy. That's pretty cool. Alright, so unsurprising, but you definitely want one of these. These are our core strategy birds. This is not really important. Alright, so now we look at the other components. So when you're building a strategy like this, you will be looking for alternative food and alternative egg. You also are looking kind of for like tuck and draws, but like we'll see in a moment that those aren't really the birds you want. Not in Oceania. Let's see. Don't really care about that. This is the matrix that is actually interesting here. So this is looking at all alt food, all alt egg. So even like American Crow, that counts as an alt food in this situation, because I assume if you're playing it in the wetlands, you can use it. Similarly, Black Crown Night Heron, if you're playing it as part of a wetlands engine, I assume you can use it. And alt egg includes things like green pheasant. I assume that if you're playing it, you've got good reason to. And so here's the matrix breakdown. So just looking at our set of 221 games, the games which have neither alt egg or no food are only about 10%. Only about 10. And these will be things that involve genuinely no idea. I guess these are the Mute Swan type things, Mute Swan, bunch of tuckers, and just trying to do something. Very low win rate as well, just really not worth talking about as a strategy. First surprising thing was that alt egg has a lower win rate than alt food. That's actually a pretty marked difference as well, about 10 percentage points between alt egg and alt food. And I think the key here is that while alt egg is really useful in getting the engine set up, most alt egg birds cap. Alright, so if you think yellow-headed blackbird only has 3 egg slots. So if you keep drawing and tucking, it stops being a +2 bird and starts being a +1 bird, because even if you can burn the egg and get an extra card, like, are you actually scoring off that card? So I think the fact that alt egg is capped really inhibits the ability for it to do stuff, whereas alt food, well, if you're accumulating food, you can always do stuff with food. Be that throw it for an egg, so you can take 1 grasslands action to get 2 eggs, and then with all your alt food, you can play a bunch of birds. So that, to me, naively says that alt food is slightly stronger than alt egg for that reason, because you get greater efficiency out of your out of taking the grasslands action with alt food than taking the food action with alt egg. So I think that's an interesting thing. But the real headliner here is that if you have both, we are about 57% win rate, so about 7 percentage points above baseline, and definitely that's the world where we want to be. Alt food, alt egg puts us into that firmly in the tuck and play camp, and that's definitely the ideal strategy here. We can look here that if you are in the tuck and play game, pretty much just look at the end counts here. So basically, you definitely want to be in this egg and food camp if you're going for this tuck and play category, which makes a ton of sense. So that's obviously these birds are key to a wetlands engine. So if we keep going down, there are a bunch of others. So like, all of the alt foods, all of things like draw power. Do you want Brolga? single tuck and draw, wetlands point scorers, so like predators, coffee powers, main ducks buddies, so your sandhill cranes and stuff. So we can look down and see what effect each type contributes to the wetlands engine. So first of all, just doing a quick count of how often these things are present. So wetlands, egg and alt food, both extremely present. So we're looking at things like 1 or maybe 2 birds providing that kind of food, providing that resource into the engine. Usually it's only 1, which makes a lot of sense. Usually we've got a mass tucker, sometimes we have 2. This is usually like mute swan plus a main duck or something. But obviously these 3 things here are your bread and butter, absolutely 100% needed in a wetlands engine to be successful. Everything else is kind of marginal. So the single tuck draws, like, they exist, but it's whatever. Other wetland scorers, so marsh harrier, things like that, like, also turning up from time to time. Consistent draw power, so things like pipe-billed grebe, ruddy ducks, so things that can just draw more cards, also turn up from time to time. And then we get coffee powers and main ducks buddies, so the things that turn seeds into points, right? So these are just going to be like your supplemental components. You can throw 1 or 2 of those into an engine. What you're really interested in, those are obviously these are your core components. So if you're seeing these birds, I mean, this is going to be super obvious to the people who are actually listening to this video. If you're seeing these birds, that's your signal. Maybe we can build a wetlands engine. Totally unsurprised. Now if we look at things by win rate, because I think that is certainly interesting. We kind of get to this point here where if you've got two alt egg, 2 alt food, we're kind of getting good return on that. So I think 2 alt egg is really interesting because that's basically removing any inhibition around eggs, but you're also scoring a lot of points per turn. So you're thinking, I'm getting 4 points from 2 tuck and lays, and that's kind of nice. Also, alt food, similar. I mean, at this point, there's basically no difference in win rate at all. 2 alt food is really nice because going from 1 to 2 really speeds things up, so that makes a lot of sense. Having 2 mass tuckers makes a lot of sense as well. That opens up a lot more strategies. And then we get to like things like, oh, having consistent draw power actually spikes at 1. Single tuck and draw spikes at 1, and things like that. And I think the way you read this table is not that these birds are like integral to the strategy, but they are useful in pushing out the habitat. You're not always going to be able to stack your habitat with the best birds. That's always true. Like, you're going to have to play what you find. But sometimes just finding a single tuck and draw bird like a barn swallow, just throw that in. You push out your wetlands by 1 slot, you can get closer to the draw 3 action. That can be tremendously valuable. Similar to the consistent draw, we'll look at that very shortly about how that group contributes to the game. But having one of those around is really valuable because you can get an extra card that can become an extra point on a mass tucker. It can be a point on a wetland bird. So, while not as strong as a single tuck and draw, I think, in concept, still very useful. Helps you find better birds as well. So definitely things to look out for. So now we can go down by category. So now we're going to go to the consistent draw power kind of category. And I think the headliner here is Orthalion Skull. This comes as absolutely no surprise to anyone. Like, Orthalion Skull is arguably the best supplementary tucking bird in the game. Amazing searching power. You don't have to tuck and draw. You get a free card on top of it. So it's effectively a +2 bird in a wetlands engine. There's a +2 bird coming in a fan pack, like I think it's like the American Widgeon or something. So I expect that to be like on par with Orthalion, like just absolutely insane. But anyway, that's getting distracted. So Orthalion Skull is very much leading this consistent draw power. Not only are you searching out better cards, but you're also scoring points while doing it. Now here's the caveat to everything I just said around, like, maybe filling things out with an extra draw power bird. You look at, like, red-breasted merganser, mallard, all of this stuff here. These aren't winning. They're not improving the baseline. I know the N is small, right? Okay, get over it. But the point I'm trying to make is that the birds that are scoring well are things like white-stork, black-throated diver, Savi's warbler, and white-throated dipper. The birds that are allowing you increased searching power, Savi is good because you get +2, but like if you're looking at birds that give you enhanced searching power, like they are the ones that are moving the needle. So I think these are providing 2 benefits, right? The first benefit is being able to find the right components to finish off the game, be that wetlands engine components or things like Benelli and Eastern Imperial Eagle, or those kinds of things. but also giving you an extra card, and often one extra card can be turned into points. Versus something like Mallard, which is like maybe good, maybe not good. Less searching power, just giving you an extra card, who kind of cares. Brolga is also the standout here for the wrong reasons. So typically, I think Brolga is one of the best birds in the game. I think it is by far and away one of the most interesting and powerful birds that exist for a normal game of Wingspan. However, in a Wetlands Engine, it's pretty terrible. And I mean, now it becomes unsurprising why that's the case, because if you're using this every turn, you are giving up an egg to your opponent every turn, and 3 eggs equals unlocking them to be able to play whatever they like. So I think normally I would say Brolga is better than Savi's Warbler, but in the Wetlands Engine context, Savi's Warbler is actually less risky than Brolga. I still don't like either of them, personally, but if you're playing Wetlands, you kind of don't have a choice sometimes. But stay away from Brolga. Very expensive bird, plus the benefit probably not there. So yeah, really interesting. So when I'm talking about, this kind of consistent draw category doing really well, so much of these numbers is Audwyn's Gull and the tray flippers, the good searching birds being able to find you good pieces to play. So keep that in mind. But yeah, let's move on. Single tuck and draw birds. Basically win rate all over the place, and I think to emphasize how over the place it is, look at Violet Green Swallow, look at Tree Swallow. I mean, they're functionally the same bird, aren't they? I mean, same nest type. Tree Swallows, a fruit instead of a worm. You try and tell me that fruit is more difficult to play than worm, and yet Violet Green Swallow is so much lower win rate. I think this is just a byproduct of just randomness. The ends are sufficiently low where we're going to see a lot of randomness. I mean, people will probably pull apart this video because the ends are so low, and I mean, yeah, that's totally fair. But ultimately, it's the best we've got. So we take them with a grain of salt, and if they agree with our intuition, then that's great. And if they don't, that's, we should second guess and try and understand if the data is lying to us. In this case, this is absolutely lying to us. I think the overall impact of this category is pretty much the same. You just want to play one of these to kind of get the engine moving along, and hopefully can find some other pieces that will complement everything. So I think it is worth calling out that the Barn Swallow does have the highest win rate. I think I talk a lot about the value of star nests, and that people often underrate the value of them in the context of a game, and I think it's fair because they don't give you any points by definition, but they are incredibly versatile. And I think this is the kind of bird that allows you to qualify an end of round, or you lay an egg on this bird and suddenly you qualify every possible bird with egg nest type with egg EOR, right? So like this plus bonus card qualification, like there's a lot of reasons why star nests are important, and the fact that it shows up as the best tuck and draw, I don't think is a coincidence. So I think keep that one in mind. At 1 food cost as well, it's super good in a Wetlands Engine, but yeah, other than that, take that as you will. We won't look at mass tuckers, we already looked at them, so now we'll look at the alt food birds. And this is, again, quite interesting, because the birds that tended to dominate here were actually Raven, Fish Crow. Did I delete something? Oops. I did do something, anyway. It's fine. So we got Raven, we got Fish Crow, we got Black Crowned Night Heron. Like, it is interesting that these egg consumers are scoring so highly. I haven't quite figured out why they're turning up so highly. That is counter to intuition. Though I do suppose if you are playing them in the context of a Wetlands Engine, you have a source of eggs for them to consume. And if they can consume eggs, so then that gives you Nectar, and that opens up a whole different ability to play the game, right? We know how powerful Nectar is. Next things to look at is Bluethroat being so terrible at, 20% win rate with 11 plays. Genuinely surprising result. I think, I really don't know, especially given that, like, the Common Nightingale is, 50 percentage points higher than it, sitting at 64%. I think it's probably due to 2 reasons. One, the Bluethroat is really expensive. At 3 food cost in a Wetlands Engine that is already trying to get away with as little food as possible, maybe taking that extra turn to get the food you need to play this bird, or extra 2 turns, God forbid, that is really inhibiting this bird's ability to be productive, or to be effective, sorry. And then maybe the co-op on top of that doesn't help. Whereas the 1 food cost of this Nightingale, very easy to play and just kind of get moving. We all know that tempo is so important in Wetlands games, and maybe this is just a pure reflection of the fact that Blue Throat costs you too much tempo to get it going. I still think you play Blue Throat a lot of the time. I think you absolutely should be, because, you know, food can be game-breaking for a Wetlands engine. But interesting that it's staked out this way. We have to be very efficient when we play it. Next thing that was very surprising, Eastern Phoebe having a very strong win rate. That's not that surprising, actually. Worms are a pretty good food source for the Wetlands. Star Nest, a lot of good things going for this bird. But then we look down at like Black-Chinned Hummingbird and Osprey. Not nearly as effective. Now, this could just be an artifact of low N. Could be an artifact of the fact that the people using these birds aren't very good, i.e. myself. And one of the games that I'm going to walk through, because we will walk through some games, there will be some Wingspan, don't worry, makes exceptional use of the Osprey. And I'm not willing to write these off as just terrible as the result. I think N is too low to conclude that, but it is interesting. But Phoebe being so high, I can understand why. I think this bird's super good. Scaly-breasted Munir, on the other hand, being middling. Again, I don't really have an explanation for this one. I think this bird should be at least as good as Kookaburra. It's got a star nest, it generates free food, it can score points, like what's not to like about it? I don't know, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And there's Hummingbird and the ruby-throated Hummingbird sitting at 60%. I mean, interesting stuff. Hummingbirds in the Wetlands, really, really strong. We know that because they give access to Nectar. So, unsurprising that these birds are doing pretty well. I think the other headliner here is obviously Black-headed Gull. About a 70% win rate, with a decent size N for this particular cohort. Absolutely makes a ton of sense. I think, you know, Black-headed Gull is one of the best birds for a Wetlands engine, being able to steal free food. Doesn't cost you anything, you can know what you're getting, you can time it correctly, grab those nectars. Difficult and annoying for your opponent to play around. Like, this bird is really strong. Can be fantastic as part of a overall Wetlands game plan. So yeah, a lot of surprises in here. Blue Throat being terrible, definitely a surprise. The egg consumers being so high is very surprising. But I'm sure there is a deeper meaning for it. I just need to look into it and figure it out. Alright, Alt Egg, actually a little bit simpler. I think the first thing to call out is Plover and Pukeko are both terrible. Now, this is in the context of a Wetlands engine, so again, context is important. So the Plover only giving... the Plover being a 1-for-1 exchange definitely makes it a lot worse than a Tuck and Lay, right? But to see it quantified this way, I mean, it's still low N and eggs are always nice, but you're not generating enough points. I think, you know, the moral of the story so far that what we've seen is that you need to be scoring more than 1 point per bird. You can argue that food and egg is going to accumulate in value by being able to turn those into played birds at some point, and that Alt Egg in the form of Tuck and Lay is 2 points provided you're able to keep clearing those eggs off, whereas Plover, there's no argument, it is just, you know, you get an egg. So I'm sure there will be games where it is essential and very strong, but in the abstract, it's not very good. Pukeko is just too expensive. I think 2 seed and an Omni plus another bird makes it very, very difficult to use. The only time I think it's ever worth considering as part of a Wetlands engine is when you have Maned Duck or Scaly-breasted Munir, which can just kind of poop out seeds as much as you like and just play the Pukeko. I still think this bird is terrible, but it is what it is. Headliners here, obviously Morning Dove. I think Morning Dove Wet is insanely strong. Like, this is just in the context of a Wetlands engine as well. Like, I think often you play Morning Dove and you pivot, but I think Morning Dove Wet is never a bad idea, and the numbers back that up by a Weaver being high. We know that. And then we come to our some of the others. I think Red Junglefowl is worth contrasting with Morning Dove, and I think the difference between these two birds is literally just that the Junglefowl can't lay more than 6, or can't lay when you have more than 6 eggs. So if you get capped on eggs, you kind of can't play something like a red-winged blackbird as well on top of it, right? Because you're generating too many eggs and you got to clear them out. You can't. So I can see why there'd be a gap in win rate. I still think it's a good play as part of an engine, but it does kind of limit your options, so you can't play some of these other good scoring birds. And I think that effect kind of manifests a little bit here as well. So if we look at bush-tit, red-winged blackbird, and these guys, so we're just going to highlight these, but please ignore the junglefowl. So Grackle and yellow-headed blackbird I've kind of lumped together in one bucket because I think they're functionally the same bird, right? Okay, Grackle is worth 1 point less. It's slightly easier to play because it's got an omni food cost, but otherwise functionally the same thing. Tuck, lay an egg, 3 egg capacity, 2 food cost as well. Red-winged blackbird slightly different, same constraints but only 1 food less, and I can think again the fact that it's 1 food less, I think that makes that win rate gap somewhat genuine. So it's about 5 percentage points more or less. So again, it's that ability to play these birds with tempo, with efficiency, that leads to slightly higher performance. So that makes a ton of sense. And then you have bush-tit, which is the clear best tuck and lay bird for like two reasons. First reason, egg capacity. It's got the biggest egg capacity of any of these tuck and lay birds, right? It's got like 6 eggs. It's huge. Like, it's insane. Why is this bird so good? Second reason it's so good, it's a star nest. And again, I've talked time and time again about the hidden value of star nests, and I think Weaver is definitely a beneficiary of this as well, but the bush-tit basically just qualifies you for like so many random end of rounds without having to go out of your way to do anything. We're going to talk a lot about end of rounds in a moment, but like the bush-tit being so high relative to the others, it just makes sense, right? When you think about all these factors in its favor in the context of a Wetlands Engine game, really, really strong bird. So definitely an A+ bird to throw in your wetlands. And maybe, maybe it's the reason that Ren is correct, and maybe you should be just playing bush-tit into your wetlands instead of your forest. Like, I don't know. Definitely very, very, very interesting stuff here. All right. Copy powers, barely beating baseline. I think if you can play the Grey Catbird, that means you've probably got strong food production, so that explains it partially. Mockingbird, more likely to be played because it's easier, but not really moving the needle in terms of win rate. Not that surprising, I think. You do actually need diversity of powers in your wetlands, because sometimes doubling up is not so good, so worthwhile calling that out. And then you got the main duck friends, these guys, Sandhill Crane, Canada Goose, Black Belly, Whistling Duck, all kind of sitting in the same ballpark here. I think, we ignore, like, Canada Goose and Black Belly Whistling Ducks are basically the same bird. Sandhill Crane is not that different, so I think you just aggregate over this bunch. And the real story here is that if you have main duck, these birds are a lot better. If you can compare these win rates versus the win rates they have up here, this is the delta. So it's like, it's just a lot. So basically, yeah, like these guys like main duck, and if you're not playing them with main duck, you usually play them with like your opponent's got Galar or Monal or something like that. These are unsurprising. I think the biggest call out here though is that even if you factor in when you've got them with main duck, this is only working out, if we kind of average this, it's only working out to about a 65% win rate. So it's not like the crazy slam dunk that you might expect. And the reason is simple. It's because you're taking those seeds and reinvesting them back as 2 points. Which is not a bad return, don't get me wrong, but you can get better return if you play birds. And by going for this strategy, you're basically not able to play birds because your one food source is being consumed by this bird. Not a bad thing necessarily. And you can imagine situations where you can do like Mockingbird, main duck, Canada Goose, and just go crazy. But I just wanted to call that out, that these birds are not an absolute slam dunk. They are very strong, but not an absolute slam dunk. Alright, we talked about all the different birds and the archetypes and the different things that the different interactions and win rates, and kind of the birds that we're looking for, right? So, mass tucker, alt egg, alt food, and to just do stuff. This is a lot of words to say not very much, because I think any good player is aware of all of these concepts. Now let's look at end of round goals. So this is the stuff that gets a little more interesting. I've always said that, when a Wetlands player is winning ends of rounds, that is a bad sign. Sorry, it's a good sign for the Wetlands player, bad sign if you're not the Wetlands player. And the data actually strongly backs that up. So 0 to 9 end of round points, Wetlands win rate is sub 50%. So for context, if you qualify every end of round, not winning, but just qualify, you get 10 points. So this says you are missing at least one end of round qualification. Now, maybe I should have put this at 8 and just said, you know, missing end of round 1, who cares? But I don't think it's going to make much difference in terms of the overall win rate. Because as you can see, in the 10 to 12 range, it's only a 2 percentage point increase over the previous category. Now, this is, again, basically losing every end of round and maybe tying one of them. And it's saying, you know what, you've got a sub-average win rate. Okay, cool. However, once you look at the 13 plus, so this is qualify all ends of rounds, but you win one of them. Suddenly, the win rate jumps to 65%. That is a huge, huge climb. And it very much validates the impression I held that, you know, winning ends of rounds as the Wetlands player can pretty much predict your success. So I dove deeper. I dove deeper, and I looked at the end of round split for every end of round point value 9 plus. And you can see, okay, at 13 qualify and win 1, it's only 60%, which is fine, right? But at qualify all, win 1, and draw 1, things jump up again. So you can kind of see that just, you know, when you're able to score well on ends of rounds, you are very, very likely to win the game. Now, the caveat here is, like, what does it look like if you are not the Wetlands player? So how can we contrast this? And I really should have had a table that kind of compared these two things together. But if you're just a normal player and you're not a Wetlands player and your performance at ends of rounds, like, how does that map to win rate, right? So this is all other non-Wetlands Engine games. You can see it's kind of like a monotonically increasing function, right? So this kind of not qualify or losing every end of round is basically the same, like basically 37% win rate, which is terrible. One end of round is 45, two ends of rounds is 60, 66, and then 80% plus if you win everything. Contrast again to the Wetlands case where, you know, we have this kind of staggering build up and this lump really around 1 or 2 goals won. So far and exceeding the baseline for other strategies, right? So definitely ends of rounds have to be contested, and sometimes that's possible, sometimes that's not. So we went one level deeper. So I looked at the R2 to R4 goal trends, because R1, who gives a shit? R2, R4, very interesting. So I started to look at, you know, how does the Wetlands player score, or how does the Wetlands player win, given that these ends of rounds exist? Because if the data is telling me that winning and drawing is kind of like the sweet spot, what does that mean? Well, we can go through this list here, right? So where is the Wetlands player likely to win? So this is the win and tie column for Wetlands. This is the number of times it was played in a Wetlands engine. This is the other category. This is the delta. This is the win percentage, given that goal exists, not the win percentage of that goal tile. So if we pull one of these out, eggs and cavity nest, if that goal tile exists, Wetlands engines are very likely to win the game. But they're not likely to qualify. Huh? Ground nests, platform nests, kind of all say this kind of same story, right? Like, if you average these all out, you end up in around 60%, because, like, they're all functionally the same thing. It's slightly different because of different reasons, but slightly the same, we'll call it. And yet you're not qualifying for them. Like, the win rate is like double. So the probability you win the game is about double the probability that you actually win or tie the category. And why is that? Well, it's quite simple. These objectives are annoying if you are not the Wetlands player, right? Having to go and lay eggs to ensure that you are winning this end of round, where the Wetlands player is like, I don't care, I have my bush tit, I'm qualifying, and you can do whatever you like. That explains the delta. So the tempo that the opposing player spends on trying to meet these EORs actually costs them in win rate percentage overall, generally speaking, right? I think there are definitely some outliers. So for instance, you know, this is an outlier and we have to kind of average it over the whole category, but you kind of get the story that we're going for. The The broad theme is true when we look at eggs and habitat as well, with eggs and wetlands being kind of like the one semi-outlier in that. But you can see that the win rate is kind of comparable in that sense. But anyway, if we continue going down this list, that story basically repeats itself over and over and over again, where I have added an extra column, I didn't mean to, where the more your opponent's going to get distracted, the higher the win rate is, even if the wetlands player doesn't care. And I think it is no more true than looking at sets of eggs, because that is one of the most annoying ends of rounds in the game. And that if this is one of the 3 ends of rounds, so R2, R3, R4, you're very unlikely to qualify for it, or tie or win it. But the win rate is about 70%. And it's because it's so awkward for the other player that they just lose so much tempo in qualifying for it. So the first lesson I want to impart on you from this EOR discussion is quite simply, Wetlands Engines benefit from awkward ends of rounds as much as they do easy to win end of rounds. And you have to keep both of those in mind. So just because you don't qualify for something isn't a death knell. I mean, sure, maybe the early analysis might have suggested that it is, but the practical analysis says that, yeah, it might be a setback if you're losing ends of rounds, but you don't need to win these ones. If your opponent's tripping over themselves, then who cares? And then there are ones, EORs, that you actually will do very well in, and I think the clear example here is birds and wetlands. I mean, you've got a 95% chance of winning this end of round, but only 65% chance of winning the game. And that's because it's just one end of round, right? Like, we know this is going to be good for us, it's helpful, but it's only 15 percentage points more likely to win the game. So this really does cut both ways. Like, even if, like, birds and most populated habitat still doesn't correlate with winning. Because I think, again, here, the strong forest player is encouraged to build out a strong forest, which can contend with your strong wetlands, leading to lesser win rate. I think you see that here as well. Birds and forest, basically 50-50, and it's the same story. If you have a strong forest, you can sometimes contend with a wetlands engine. So really, really interesting stuff. We can keep going through all these, but we'll be here forever. The only other thing to add here is that no goal was surprising to me because it didn't correlate with more win chance, which was genuinely surprising. Don't really know how to explain that one, other than the fact that it's R2 to R4. R1 giving 3 extra turns must improve it, but it's just not in this data set. Not in this particular subset of the data. That is surprising. I wonder if this just means that throwing this in like round 2 or round 3 means the other player is not doing something awkward, and them not doing something awkward and being able to follow on, play good wingspan principles leads to a good outcome. I don't know. Yeah. Alright. That's EORs. I think I'm done with that. That's the same table again. Alright, Nectars. Super interesting things on Nectars. So, let's recall the scoring. If you qualify every Nectar, you get 6 points. If you tie a Nectar, you get... if you qualify but tie, you get 7. You tie 2, you get 8. If you win 1, you'll get 9. No, sorry, you get 8 if you get 1. If you win 1 and tie the other 2. Words hard. Basically, the most interesting finding here was that losing Nectar and like not even qualifying for Nectar didn't actually shift the base win rate. So 50-50. And I think that's a very interesting finding, especially when you look at the just qualifies line, which says that just qualifying Nectar is actually worse for you than just not qualifying. And I think this is a little bit paradoxical, but also not. I think there are a lot of people, when they're playing Wetlands games, they think, oh no, I must qualify every Nectar and will take suboptimal actions to qualify Nectar. This might mean taking a turn of food, getting your 2 Nectar from the feeder, and then playing 2 birds to qualify Nectar in forest and grasslands or whatever you happen to have done. And that's actually cost you 3 turns of using a Wetlands engine, or maybe 1 turn of using a Wetlands engine depending on the particular style you're playing. and that is enough to create a difference in win rate. So I think it's important to keep Nectar in mind as a consideration. Absolutely, I mean, it's 2 points. If you can get 2 points for no reason, like, I mean, you get 2 points. But it shouldn't be at the expense of playing good principled Wingspan, right? Nectar is just an opportunity to score. Like, you're probably losing all Nectars anyway, right? So who cares? But you need to be playing good principled Wingspan. How are you scoring the most points with each turn that you are taking? And sometimes that'll involve getting Nectar, and sometimes it won't. And I think you have to be very heads up and mindful of that as you go on. Interestingly, if you are able to win Nectars, so, you know, if we're getting like 8 points out of Nectar, 9 points out of Nectar, or 10 or more points out of Nectar, the win rate really does climb. So it, again, is suggesting that if you are the Wetlands Engine player and are able to win and contest neutral scoring objectives, so things like ends of rounds, things like Nectar, that these things disproportionately benefit you as the Wetlands player. Now, if you recall earlier, I mentioned something along the lines of, yeah, these egg-consuming food generators are surprisingly high win rate. And I suspect they're high win rate because they can score Nectar, right? I think that is probably the reason. Blue Throat, on the other hand, everybody gets a Nectar, you play a Nectar, you're qualifying, you're never winning because your opponent can just, you know, use the Nectar you've given them to spend it and beat you. Whereas the birds that are able to generate Nectar, so the hummingbirds and the egg consumers, these ones genuinely might be making a difference, and it might be showing up because of these Nectar scores. So that is interesting. But it's not the only way to success, but it is a predictor for success. So very, very, very interesting. Unsurprisingly, if you break this down by archetype, like, you know, Tuck and Play is really the only one that is worth even mentioning here. I think all the others, like this mid-Tuck, who cares? Full Tuck is probably never qualifying a bunch of Nectar unless it's given to them for free. Whereas these Tuck and Plays, you can kind of see the trough again. The win rate at 6 and 7 is very low. 5, less than 5 just means you're being ultra efficient in playing your birds, so go nuts. And more than 8 means you're being very dominant on your Nectars. So it's very interesting that there's this trough between, like, just going as hard as you can and actually focusing on Nectar as an objective. So one of the things I'm taking away from the analysis really is the midway strategy of just doing enough is often wrong, and that you need to go hard. You need to win an end of round. You need to win the Nectars if you're going to go after them. And otherwise, it's just better to play good principled, efficient Wingspan, use your engine as much as possible, play the birds as fast as you can. Who cares about the 2 points from Nectar? You're going to make that up in the additional engine activations. Very interesting and supported with the data. Bonus cards. All right, I told you, we looked at everything. We have been going for almost an hour, and I haven't even looked at Wingspan. You've been looking at an Obsidian notebook. I'm sorry. I told you this video was going to be boring. All right, bonus cards. Is there anything interesting here? Not really. I couldn't find anything that was, like, super relevant, and it's mostly because you're likely to score 0 so often with a bonus card. Unless you are playing these kinds of, you know, late game bonus sprees with like 1,000 birds played, because you've got these, like, you know, triple play another birds, you max things out, play Kiwi, all that kind of fun stuff. Like, okay, fair play, like, you can score well on bonus cards, but like the prototypical Wetlands engine doesn't necessarily score well on a lot of stuff. So you just kind of YOLO it. To that end, I've kind of ordered this by frequency it shows up, and surprisingly, Citizen Scientist is the most popular card in a Wetlands engine. I say surprisingly because this is typically one of the lowest picked cards in the game. It makes sense in the context of this, obviously, because you're going to be tucking a lot of cards, but it's just funny that this ends up being very, very popular. And you can kind of see that, like, even with Citizen Scientist, there's a fraction of the time that you score 0. So it is what it is. If we're looking at points, birds that are, if we're looking at bonus cards that are the most reliable point scorers, we're looking at things like bird counter, mechanical engineer, enclosure builder for some reason, and yeah, that's kind of it. Visionary leader is showing up a little bit, but again, Who cares about Visionary Leader? And if you're looking at like win rate adjustments, again, these ends are sufficiently small so that who cares? Like Citizen Scientist doesn't correlate with winning. Who could have seen that coming? Bird Bander correlates with winning. I mean that. I don't know if you can read anything to that. Bird counter is 50-50. Again, I don't think you can read anything to that. I just don't think Wetlands Engines really care about their bonus cards. I think, you know, if you can score well with a bonus card, that is obviously a good thing. But I think there's too much signal to noise ratio here. And I don't think you can extract anything meaningful from it. It comes back to the basic principles. Play good principled Wingspan. If you can qualify your bonus cards, that's great. But you have to understand that as the engine player, they are not the only way to score points and win the game. You can win through other mechanisms. You have a point scoring engine available to do that, so you're not as dependent on bonus cards as you might be if you were just playing a forest strategy or something like that. Yeah, I think that is everything at long last. Oh no, it's not. Co-op birds. Because probably the other thing that's really interesting about Wetlands Engines is that obviously tempo is a huge thing. And if your opponent is giving you free stuff, does that help or hinder you? And honestly, a little bit. A little bit. We're talking like 1 or 2 percentage points. So that in itself was kind of interesting to me. I was like, this doesn't sit right with me. I feel like co-op into the Wetlands player is usually like a bad idea, right? And so then I broke it out by bird to see what was going on. So Galar is a co-op bird, for instance. Basically doing nothing. Multiple Oriole, basically doing nothing. So why is it that co-op birds aren't correlating? Like, what is going on here? And I think Himalayan Monal and Many-Colored Fruit Dove to a lesser extent, actually this cluster of 3 birds kind of is indicative of the entire co-op point, right? I think because these games are played on the Wingspan Tournament Discord server and everybody is kind of good, they don't often use co-op birds unless there is a significant advantage for them to do so. Some players ignore that, but I think in general, people are pretty good about controlling the amount of co-op they give out. And, you know, if you're playing into a Wetlands player, you're like, well, I'm not going to give you anything until round 3. And in round 3, your engine's set up. I don't care if I give you a seed. It's not changing the game at all. It might help me a lot. It's not going to help you. I'm happy with that. I think these 3 birds are actually fundamentally different from all the other ones. And that is that the benefit you get from using them is asymmetrical and therefore makes you more likely to use them than not use them. In particular, the Himalayan Monal. Himalayan Monal as a Forest 1 bird is something that you will always want to do. Free seed. Well, everybody gets a seed. You get an egg. Everybody likes eggs. Eggs are like absolutely essential to having a good game. Yet, if you play Himalayan Monal into a Wetlands engine, you lose, you know, more than 30%, more than 70% of the time. That is significant. And I think here the co-op story is really manifesting. Because players will always mash the Monal button, the Wetlands player is getting those free seeds and is able to take advantage of that for tempo, to play the birds that need to be played, to get their engine set up running faster, and ultimately win the game. The other 2 birds, similar. Eastern Rosella, everybody gets a nectar, you get a seed. Many-Colored Fruit Dove, everybody gets a fruit, you get an extra one. That advantage from getting that extra resource is completely negated by the Wetlands engine player. And I think both of these birds, if you play them, you're going to use them. And using them into Wetlands is a death sentence, basically. Unsurprising. But I think ultimately it just backs up the fundamental story, which is if you're giving your opponent co-op, you need to do it in a timely fashion, not just mash the button. And so I think if your opponent is going heavy Wetlands, and you've got Himalayan Monal sitting in Forest 1, you're gonna have a bad time. Because you kind of have to use the bird, because you've invested so much into it. But if you use it, you're going to lose the game. Not an enviable position. But yeah, I just wanted to call that out. Every other example you can point to, like Scissortail for Eyecatcher, Baltimore Oriole, you're playing these for points, you're not playing them for their brown power. You basically would never activate these unless there was a real reason to, like maybe you have like a common Starling or something, and you are just gonna max points in R3, R4, right? Galar is often delayed into round 2 or round 3 because you don't want to give out those free seeds, right? These 3 birds are your exception. You play them because you are going to use them. And I think as a result, this is why these ones are so highly rated. Now we'll look at co-op eggs, because there are co-op egg birds, and I think co-op egg... Golden Pheasant's the only one that I'm really willing to read much of a signal into, so I think exclude Rock Pigeon, and I think these 4 birds are the ones that are interesting. So Golden Pheasant is probably the most interesting bird of the bunch. Playing Golden Pheasant when your opponent is doing a Wetlands Engine is... These are small n, forgive me, but it suggests it's suicidal. And I believe it. And I believe it because typically a player will use Golden Pheasant at the start of a game to get 4 eggs, your opponent gets 2, you get off to a flyer, your tempo is fantastic, but your opponent gets 2 eggs in exchange. Those 2 eggs to a Wetlands player are so much more valuable than the 4 eggs that you gain, that I believe this. I genuinely believe that the Golden Pheasant actually harms you if you are playing it into a Wetlands Engine. I think if you delay this bird until the end of the game, like round 3, round 4, to kind of like finish off the game to get those last few eggs that you need to play things out, I think the data would skew a little bit. I just don't have enough of it to be conclusive here. It's just unfortunate. I just don't have much more data. So I think that's really interesting. I think that's worth calling out. Pileated Woodpecker, sitting at 50-50. I think Pileated is such a strong bird. You get 2 eggs, everybody else gets 1 if they have a cavity nest. A lot of the birds that you want to play in your Wetlands Engine don't have cavity nests, and if they do, they are tuck-lay birds, which you want the space on. The one exception is the tree swallow. As far as I can recall, I could be wrong. I guess it's like purple martin. Okay, I lied. It's purple martin and barn swallow. Like the majority, and main duck. Okay, never mind. I lied. Still, pileated woodpecker is strong. So I can believe that this one's 50-50, and I think a player that's strategic about their usage can get a lot of value out of it. And Princess Steph is exactly the same. I think you play Princess Steph if you're going to push an advantage. Not to, give your opponent an edge. Maybe you're playing this round 3, round 4, not giving out those free eggs. It's worth playing a lot of the times just because for its base value and convenient nest type and convenient food cost, that kind of stuff. So Noisy Miner, really nothing to talk about here. That's just statistical noise. But I think Noisy Miner and Golden Pheasant live in the same bucket, where using Noisy Miner early can be disastrous. But I think you can use it to kind of get your game underway round 3, round 4 without too much concern. So, in general, co-op, time it well, then you're fine. If you don't time it well, you just lose. Right. That is an hour of data on wetlands crap. Probably stuff you already knew, so why on earth did you just waste your life on this? Well, I hope it was somewhat interesting. And even if it's not interesting, what I am going to do now is I am going to go through a bunch of different wetlands games. We're going to do a big deep dive on some of these principles and how they manifest in-game. And hopefully we'll see some cool stuff. Alright, hope this was interesting. Yeah, so we'll move on to the next bit of looking at some games in particular. We'll probably do that in another video. This one's approaching an hour, so we'll do a couple more. We'll do some games in the next one, so we'll see you there. Alright, that was probably a really hard cut, but I promised gameplay, so here's gameplay. I am going to just shove this all in one video for the absolute fiend who can consume everything. So here's an example game. We're playing Danko here, and I think, we're not the Wetlands player. Danko is, and I think this is a really instructive game from him, so... we're not going to watch this and analyze it at like normal speed. We're just going to kind of pick through the important points, right? Danko is going first. There's a red-winged blackbird in tray. I think You know, that's a pretty normal take, right? Like, that's a pretty good wetlands bird. We've seen it turn up in a lot of things. I think I'll draw attention to the end of rounds as well. Birds with tucked cards, great for Wetlands Engine, so we know that Wetlands Engines love to win 1 or 2 ends of rounds. That's an easy one. Brown powers, eggs and wetlands, card in hand, like all of those. Wetlands Engines qualify for all of them, especially if you take this Blackbird that qualifies for 2. Potentially even winning 1, so we already know that the Wetlands Engine is in good stead. You just have to wait for him to take his action. Oh, it's quite a wait. Alright, he takes Red-Winged Blackbird, and we get Yellow-Headed Blackbird, which is kind of the worst version. But that's fine. We can play this Blackbird, and then get into this Egret, whatnot. So pretty innocent start on both sides. Both of us kind of primed for a Wetlands Engine kind of game, but we'll see that you know, we don't get that opportunity. We have to do normal things, so we just draw. Maybe the Dix Thistle was kind of maybe worth keeping. It's too expensive though, probably. Doesn't really matter. So then Danko immediately goes into Tree Swallow, so we've got Egg Layer and just a card cycler. So we already have seen that, you know, 1 card cycler is probably good enough. So fair enough, that just helps them fill out their wetlands a little bit. Now, I'm playing Little Egret, and that is actually a little bit dangerous in this game. Giving away a card that could potentially be a wetlands bird is potentially problematic. And I think that's one thing I didn't think about in this game, is that, you know, normally Little Egret is fine to use because it's 50-50. Who cares if we give away wetlands cards? In this case, it does matter because our opponent is playing in the wetlands. So my opponent's just played Osprey. So now they've got eggs and an alt food source in their wetlands. So they're actually really set up for a nice tuck and play engine. That's what I'm going to call it now, tuck and play. So they can keep spamming us with fish, and you know, we can't really make use of that extra fish very well. Like, sure, we've got a puffin, but it's not that big of a deal if I'm being perfectly honest with you. We don't really care about what we're doing here. Danko's really the interesting player of this game. So, as the kind of playing into this kind of heavy fish gameplay, you know, I'm a little bit apprehensive about going into the forest because I am aware that I am basically I do this cute triple play for this white thread. It's kind of cool. But, like, going heavy into forest means that I need to be really on the ball when it comes to making use of that extra fish, because I'm not going to be using my forest that often if there's tons of food co-op, so I need another way of scoring points. So, this Blackbird is definitely going to be helpful. Maybe even this Bush Tit we can play into the wetlands and just kind of get double egg laying going on. Like, these are both options. Going to be a very egg-rich game at this point. So now Danko is actually, if we're thinking about the win conditions for a Wetlands Engine, he's actually just kind of completed like all 3 win conditions, which is your Blackbird for eggs, Osprey for alternate food, and the Coot as a mass tucker. And while the Coot may be one of the worst mass tuckers, I mean, we've seen it, it's just barely above Chiff Chaff, this is the exact kind of game where it's going to excel. Like, we don't need a main duck. We've got Osprey. We don't need a BioWeaver. We've got Blackbird. Yes, we would prefer these birds, but there are only, like, 5 or 6 mass tuckers in the game, and you can't always get the one that you want. And so you just kind of got to make do. And Eurasian Coot is more than making do. Like, that bird's going to go insane this game. You're going to be able to get so many points off of it, and being played into Wetlands Column 4 is just, like, perfect for it. Activating on that extra card, like, that is so valuable. And the other thing that we know about Wetlands Engines, and that wasn't really captured in the data, is tempo. Being able to get it set up in good time is so imperative. And yeah, the data wasn't able to quite capture that, but by getting to column 4 in the wetlands, not even halfway through round 2, Danko is so unbelievably well set up in this game to just dominate me. Like, it is so difficult for me to fight against a Wetlands engine that is up and running already. Like, how? How do I do it? Like, the only way you can beat a Wetlands engine like this is by having better card access, but I'm never going to have better card access with this setup. In any case, we attempt to do something. We throw this bush tit in, and we're just going to dig a little bit. But then they find Orthalion Skull. And I mean, that just completes what is honestly a crazy Grasslands engine. Having the column full with still 2 turns to go, that is like exceptionally well done by him. And you know, these are all the pieces that you need to succeed. So you can see now that they're scoring well. Like Orthalion Skull, they're getting 5 cards. They're tucking 1, tucking 3. That's 4 points, 5 points, 7 points. They've got a 7-point engine with a fish every time they use it, and they should be using the fish because they can convert that on this. They can use this on the Blackbird to just get extra stuff, right? They can play extra birds. But if they choose not to, then it's a 6-point engine, and you can run a 6-point engine for a very long time in this game and do pretty well. But yeah, we do find Kia, which you know is helpful. Difficult decisions here. Do I keep this adjutant? Probably not. I don't know. Tough call. It was a diet specialist bird, and I'm not going to think too critically about it. This is not the game to be thinking critically about, my boy. This is the... Like, I think this is just like the picture-perfect Wetlands engine, right? Everything we talked about in the preamble about getting set up, about what a conceptually strong Wetlands engine looks like Danko has just ticked it all off, right? And these extra fish, like, we just cannot use them. Like, we have good food access, which means that we want to be playing Nectar, we want to be winning all of the Nectar races. And this additional fish just is absolutely nothing for us. And we are trying to find pieces to play and to try and score well, because, you know, the only way you can beat a Wetlands engine that is set up this quickly is if you have crazy good cards to play, like your Boobies, your Kiwis, your Great Indian Bustards. But we don't. And we know that Danko is probably going to find the Benellis, the Eastern Imperial Eagles of this world, because they are seeing so many more cards than we are. They're seeing 6 cards a turn. 7 cards a turn, sorry, I forgot about the Tree Swallow cycle. So that is, like, insane. Not only that, they are winning ends of rounds. So they've won the first 2 ends of rounds. They probably don't win this round. They might. Don't think they will, but still. It's very, very hard for us to keep up. We are pulling birds like that would have been really good at the start of the game, like Monal and Red Junglefowl, although we've seen that Monal is one of the worst birds into Wetlands engines. Just giving out too much co-op. But yeah, we've got stuff to be doing. We can play this Peacock, Peafowl, sorry. We can play Atlantic Puffin. We can play Caston's Finch. But like, yeah, this is a losing proposition, I'm afraid. They even are able to get Mask Lapwing involved, which fortunately for me misses on Nectar. But again, we've seen time and time again that as the Wetlands player, you probably shouldn't be focusing too much on Nectar. Just while 2 points is 2 points, you shouldn't be thinking, oh yeah, I need to fight all the Nectars. It's often just more efficient to do something else. So if anything, I could be a little bit critical of this Lapwing. Fishing for that Nectar, is that really what you want to be doing? I don't know. Anyway, we're accumulating our resources and getting going. Missing on the Grosbeak is a pain, but it is what it is. Anyway, at least we have things to be doing, so... Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, it was only on the screen for like a very, very brief moment. But let's just take a look at what Danko just did. Eastern Bluebird into Sprague's Pipit. So they're doing exactly the right thing that you should be doing. Using this free food from the Osprey and a little bit of extra food from the Lapwing, and they're making plays. So they do the double play into Sprague's Pipit, and I think anytime you're dealing with a Wetlands engine, like, these double play birds are so valuable. it does double duty, right? Not only is it a ton of, not a ton of points, but some points, right? So this is a 5-point play, just in terms of raw bird point, plus getting a bonus card, plus clearing out 2 eggs on this blackbird, so that's really recovering 2 points there. So almost as efficient as running the engine, while potentially scoring better if the bonus card gives you good value. And they can keep repeating this and just, keep digging, find the plan of the birds, and just play them. Good thing we have House Wren and Kinglet, because those are 2 options that my opponent won't have, but still. They continue to give out this fish, and there's still absolutely nothing we can do about it. And one of the things you'll notice here is that every time I'm taking this forest action, I'm actually not scoring any points. I'm literally just getting food. And you can see on that very, very brief screen there, I was only on 48 points at this point of the game. Some of that is because haven't entered the Grasslands Nectar yet. The more relevant reason is we are just behind in this game. We're not scoring points anywhere except our wetlands, but we can't keep digging, we can't keep using this 4-point Wetlands Engine and expect to win the game when our opponent's currently sitting at a 6 to 7-point Wetlands Engine. So these are all important considerations to be made. Well, maybe the considerations are a little bit late, but still. They continue to play birds. They just play California Condor, again fishing for more bonus cards, which I mean, they're probably just playing the best things that they have, which totally makes sense. I completely understand that, but yeah. Snowy Owl comes up. I think this is something we have to take. Is it? Do we have to take it? Okay, no, I'm not taking it. It's a little bit surprising. I would have thought we had to take that. I'm pretty sure Danko's just gonna take that and probably play it. Yeah, you can see, just like, look at that engine go. Like the Eurasian Coot is just doing really, really, really good work there. Yeah, I think this is just such a really beautiful game. I think it encapsulates all of the prototypical wetlands principles and just... Yeah, I mean, this game was actually the game that inspired me to take a close look at the wetlands, because I really, after seeing this game, I was like, I don't understand how you play wetlands. But, here we are. I'm gonna play Puffin. And I am a little bit surprised we're not taking White-Headed Duck. I guess we just feel like we don't have time in this game to play it. But I mean, I think we do. I think we do. But maybe we're looking at Kia and Monal as our last 2 plays, because Monal is our only bird to max out. Dive Specialist, and Kia is just really good with stuff. Alright, yeah, we are playing that. Alright, so Danko plays Bonelli's Eagle. Crazy good play. Outscores the engine, because they are getting a surplus of cards. Like, they don't care. Outscores the engine, uses an egg, denies the White-Headed Duck, and, the power of this Wetlands Engine is just on absolutely full display. Oh, we did the hobby. Okay. We are just absolutely helpless. Play the Kia, throw all our food, we get a couple points back on it. He gets in Kakapo. And yeah, look, I mean, it's just such a game that encapsulates everything that we talked about. Look, not even, like, qualifying one Nectar, who cares about the other ones? Look at this, look at these tucks, look at just, like, getting stuff on the board. Managing that limited egg supply on that red-winged blackbird to, like, absolute perfection. Like, I can't say enough nice things about just how well they played this game. And our score is not terrible, mind you. Like, we get 125, like, that's pretty good. The main thing here, though, is that we 129, I mean, the Wetlands engine can just go kind of crazy. So even though we're, like, at a pretty big deficit already... Sorry, even though Danko's at a deficit, the card's gonna come in through, and that is just, like, absolutely insane, right? So, final score is 150 to 129, like... Damn if that ain't a beautiful game of Wingspan, like... I don't think you can script... you can script a better Wetlands engine. I mean, I've had better Wetlands engine games, but I think as a example and a template of the concepts of a Wetlands engine, like, I don't think you can get better than this. Like, it's absolutely perfect. Like, what were the bonus cards, by the way? Bird Feeder, Bird Counter, Analyst, and Prairie Manager. I don't think you could, like... I don't think you can... Can we just, like, look at his board for a moment, please? Alright. I don't think you could, like, envision a more prototypical Wetlands game. Starting out with that egg layer for tempo, Free Swallow to push things out a little bit, Osprey to, like, give you that alt food. And even though, like, Osprey's the only, like, other than that and Auto and Skull, like, it's the only bird that eats fish. The value of that fish is so high because you 2 fish becomes a seed, or like 2 fish can, 4 fish can fund a kakapo, and with just the amazing searching power of this Wetlands allows you to find the good birds like Benelli. Just, yeah, crazy good game. And I think, a lot to be learned from something like that. And hopefully you can kind of see how the principles we've talked about kind of ring true in this game. I've said that a lot, I'm waffling. Let's go to the next game. Alright, so this is a game that I played kind of recently. Not much going on. We have Yellowthroat and Rosy Starling. And Whitethroat. I mean, that's a pretty strong opening. We also have Black-Chin Hummingbird. Like, we got a lot of good stuff going for us here. The difficulty is going to be in getting it down. I mean, leaving Whitethroat behind seems insane, but there's also BioWeaver in tray, if you can see there. So BioWeaver is also up for contention. So this is going to be one of the rare games where, actually, in Citizen Scientist, very nice, where leaving Whitethroat behind is just going to be the play. Seems insane because Whitethroat is just genuinely one of the best birds in the game. But there's an angle here where we can say, well, we have BioWeaver, we have Rosy Starling, we have we've got some alt food coming in from Rosy Starling, we have alt egg from BioWeaver, we got this Black-Chin Hummingbird and common Yellowthroat to give us a couple extra cards. Like, that is a Wetlands. And just like we saw with Danko's game, the tempo or the speed at which you're able to get these engines set up is just so important. And having 4 candidate cards for a Wetlands from the opening hand, like, you just gotta play into that, right? And while the Whitethroat would have been really nice, I think we just lose too much tempo. Like, we can't play BioWeaver immediately. It becomes difficult to play Rosy Starling. Yeah, it's just a little bit complicated. So, plus the BioWeaver eggs can kind of conflict with the Whitethroat at times, which makes it a little bit more complicated than normal. But yeah, my opponent plays Princess Stephanie's Astrapia, which could have been a signal for me to actually play Rosy Starling first, but I also expect them not to use Rosy Starling. Use Princess Steph. They do, but I think they probably shouldn't have. So now we've got Black-Throated Diver and Violet Green Swallow, so that is basically the dream. Because we got the free Steph egg, we're actually not going to tuck on the BioWeaver. The game plan now is just 100% get birds into the game as fast as we possibly can. And to that end, we need to throw a card to achieve that. So tucking a card on Bio would have been a mistake. We throw the Yellowthroat for some food, and that allows us to get this Hummingbird into the game. And the Hummingbird is pretty important because it's that extra food source to kind of bring this whole thing together. And while I'd love to get Rosie Starling into the game, it really would be very, very helpful to get Rosie Starling into the game. Black-chin Hummingbird is just going to be more important to... it's just going to be more convenient to get into the game for tempo reasons. We can spend the fish, keep the nectar. Then when we draw cards, we've got to get a fruit, then we can kind of do stuff. So pick up this Indian Vulture, which is usually a pretty nice pickup. The Eurasian Coot also comes up. And unfortunately, not the game for it, because we already have 2 incredible mass tuckers to be able to use. They take the Eurasian Coot, which is fine. We throw the Indian Vulture for some more food, and now we've got enough food to be able to play this Rosie Starling, so we can get the Rosie Starling in the game. I am thinking about playing this Black-throated Diver, but then ultimately I decide against it because I think, well, 1, end of round, but 2, it's more meaningful to have this on to the right of our tucking birds so that we can get the extra card. Just like the Violet Green Swallow is also better to the right of the tucking bird, so you can do the tuck and then tuck and cycle on the swallow, and then tuck for benefit on the Rosie Starling and whatchamacallit, Bioweaver. And now Black-headed Gull comes up, which is like that's even better, I think, than Black-throated Diver, but we don't get it, which is a little bit of a shame. We find Bush Tit. We are kind of spoiled for choice this game. Do you do Violet Green Swallow for the guaranteed point? Do you do Bush Tit for the 1 card for 2 points thing? Like, we have some very genuinely difficult questions here. And we're still getting some free eggs as well, which, you know, free eggs are just always a mistake. It means we don't have to make difficult concessions around where do we tuck cards, where do we not tuck cards, that kind of thing. So now we have to decide, do you want Violet Green Swallow, or do you want Bush Tit, or do you want Black-throated Diver? And I think you always want Bush Tit. And I think the reason why you want Bush Tit is 1, massive egg capacity, and 2, it turns one card into 2 points through the tuck and the egg, whereas this Violet Green Swallow is only 1 point. So even though it might be trickier, I guess, to fund everything, we still have this Diver to give us that extra card to kind of turn everything into useful things. And so just like with Danko's game, we're about halfway through round 2, and we've got a pretty serious Wetlands Engine set up. We've got this lovely Bioweaver, we've got this Rosie Starling, we've got Bush Tit up and running. And now we just need to, we can complete our wetlands with our next bird, and we just get to make a decision. Do you want Violet Green Swallow, or do you want Black-throated Diver? They both net out to the same thing. They both are +1 because we are tucking more than the cards that we are drawing. So the Black-throated Diver is just a +1. Same with the Violet Green Swallow though, because it's a tuck and cycle. Black-throated Diver is going to allow us to see more cards. I'm going to flip the tray, which is both inconvenient for my opponent and convenient for me. So we can just go about our business now and just tuck things. And we can see the engine is fully activated. We are drawing, we are tucking, we are playing the game. So again, another really prototypical Wetlands Engine up and running. We see Orthalion Skull. Orthalion Skull would have been better than Black-throated Diver, but it is what it is. But yeah, we're up and running. We're scoring points. We are turning cards into food, cards into eggs, and we are pretty happy with life. So the cards that we're looking for now are your double plays, like this Tough Titmouse, your Benelli's Eagles. We've got Sister Cola as well, so it's another good tuck and play. Sorry, another nice play, another bird, sorry. So yeah, Violet Cuckoo is also a bird where I'm like, you know what, maybe we play that. Our opponent is, they don't have any eggs, so it makes sense to play a bird like Violet Cuckoo. We have the food for it. Oh no, they have Princess Steph, so we can still get Violet Cuckoo into the game. It's not a big deal. It helps the Passerine specialists, so it doesn't hurt to play it. And if our opponent ever wants to lay eggs, they need to do that. Gives us an extra point. Eurasian Collared Dove, that's exactly the kind of bird we want to see with all of our excess food production from the Starling and the Hummingbird. And we're just giving out as much food as we like. The fruits aren't very useful to my opponent. We're very happy to just continually give that away. Count Raggy is actually interesting because it has the right food type, being fruit and worm, but Whether or not we play it or not is still kind of up in the air. One of the good things about having more tucking power than you have drawing power is that you can always just kind of keep cards in hand and tuck them at a later date. You can always hedge your bets and just try and figure something out. We are out of egg space, so we are going to play Count Raggy, just so that we can keep scoring points where we can. And we'll just keep on keeping on. Finding some more good birds here. Downy Woodpecker would have been good one turn ago. The Prairie Chicken is very interesting for us. We're not going to use the BioWeaver because we can't get the maximum benefit out of it. That's okay, we don't really need to at this point. Yeah, very much sitting pretty. One turn of not getting any eggs would be an acceptable compromise for us. We'll also point out that we are winning ends of rounds as well. And we know that as the Wetlands player, if we're winning ends of rounds, the score is going to be really, really good. So, we have many reasons to be optimistic. Wood Duck comes up, a little bit late for Wood Duck. Red Crown Crane comes up, one of the most overrated birds in all of Wingspan. Reminder, this bird is not good. Common Starling comes up, which might even be better for us than the Collared Dove, because it's a more convenient food type. Blue-winged Warbler is interesting. It is a small bird. It's got the right food type. That is very interesting to us. So we're not using our not using our egg layers just right now, because we're not going to get maximum value out of them. We're going to play some birds first. We play this Downy Woodpecker, normally a terrible play this late into the game, but it serves the dual purpose of getting us 5 birds for the end of round, and clearing out 4 egg spaces, which opens up 2 additional rounds of drawing, which we love. We love drawing. So taking away this Eurasian Green Woodpecker, not because I genuinely think they're going to play it, but because if they did play it, that would win them the end of round, and I'd prefer that didn't happen. Now I need to make some hard decisions around, do I play for bonus cards, do I play for just caching food instead, and I make the pragmatic decision to play for guaranteed points, so basically Sister Cola into Starling, and not really thinking about whether or not the bonus cards would have been better or not. And we pull Stubble Quail. I should mention that Stubble Quail is technically 1 point better than Starling. The reason being is that, it's actually 2 points better than Starling. So 1, it's worth 1 more base value, and 2, you can create 6 eggs on Stubble Quail, whereas you can only cache 5 on the Starling. So it's 2 points better off. And once again, it's going to be a massive score. We are basically going to dominate every category here. And it's going to be an absolute blowout. Sorry, I ruined that. 140 to 91. We don't really care what our opponent was doing. We care about what we were doing, because this is a video about Wetlands Engines. So again, the prototypical Wetlands Engine, we had everything that we needed very early on. We got BioWeaver, Mass Tucker, Egg Layer, Black Shin Hummingbird for some additional alt food, Rosie Starling, more alt food, another Mass Tucker. We had so many options for this column 4 slot. We ended up playing Bush Tit, which I think was the correct decision. And then Black-Throated Diver, which in the context of this board is also a point scorer, because every additional card we get is an additional point we get. And then we just draw cards, play to the bonus card, play to the double play birds, clear out as much space as possible, and just do what we can. Compete on ends of rounds where it's possible, and we won pretty much all of them. So another really strong Wetlands game, and I think very much modeled after the Danko game. Like, this came after it, after I'd seen that and learned a bunch from it. But again, you can see those fundamental Wetlands principles in play. Not really caring about nectars. We won Well, we one-tied a Nectar, which is fine, but Nectar wasn't our game's plan. Our game plan was activate this engine, get as many points as possible, and kind of profit from that. Alright, let us go to another one, because we got a lot of Wetlands games. I really have gone hard on this. So we got another BioWeaver game. We got Eastern Phoebe and BioWeaver. So you got 2 birds. I think that's enough of a go signal to say, alright, we're going to commit to the Wetlands. We're going to get going as fast as we can and just do stuff. You got to be thinking, is that red-tailed hawk interesting? Is that a bird that is good enough to be playing in a high-functioning Wetlands? And, you know, probably not. I think, you know, at best it's a space-filling bird, just like Violet Green Swallow would be. But it doesn't score as regularly as Violet Green Swallow, because it's only like, I think, 0.7 to hit. Whereas Violet Green Swallow, sorry, is a guaranteed point every time you activate it. And I think, obviously, the security in points is exactly what you want in an engine like this, because the more times we activate the engine, the more likely it is that the birds converge to expected value, which means the hawk is going to underperform relative to some of the more guaranteed point scoring options. So get in there right away with BioWeaver. We can immediately play Eastern Phoebe once we get an egg. So we find Pileated Woodpecker, which is obviously very interesting. Pileated is one of these birds that is, like, you know, it's eggs. It's very, very interesting, but also not our game plan, so it's a nice pivot option should the option present itself, but we don't have to commit ourselves. We're not locked in at this point. We get a free card. We see Whitethroat come up. We're going to take Whitethroat. Don't know if we're going to play Whitethroat, but we'll definitely want to deny it. And Budgie's just a terrible bird, so just don't play Budgie. Even in a Wetlands engine, like, you're probably just not seeing the value out of that bird. Again, it's a space-filling bird, so we don't care too much. But now we can play Eastern Phoebe, now that there's nothing that needs to be taken from the tray urgently. And once again, we're in a really good setup. We've got BioWeaver, we've got Eastern Phoebe, we've got eggs, mass tucker, food. We just gotta fill out some spaces now, so we'll just see what we can find. Cuckoo, Tailor Bird, it is what it is. We can get rid of the cuckoo. Something like this grey teal could be interesting. I mean, not a very consistent scoring bird, but it's a bird. It fills the spot. We keep pulling lots of worm birds, which, you know, could be helpful. Find an opportunity to take Nectar, and yeah, Pileated Woodpecker is not a bad play here. Pileated Woodpecker here allows us to win the end of round, which, you know, winning ends of rounds is kind of good. Like, Pileated's not much of a detour. Like, I mean, we just had it gets us a Nectar qualification, which is nice. Gives us a little bit of extra food. I don't know why I laid on BioWeaver. I probably should have just laid on Pileated, but whatever. A little bit of a brain off moment, probably. And that should be an end of round one. Without really going out of our way to do it. Get Small Minivet. That is a bird that we'll definitely want to play. Small Minivet being a food web expert bird. Double play bird. Good for EOR 3. Good for this end of round. Like, there's a lot of reasons to like this bird. My opponent takes Violet Green Swallow, which is a shame. We like Violet Green Swallow. It's a pretty useful bird in the context of this game. I am thinking that maybe this Green Heron is interesting. Can turn some of this worm food into Nectar. I don't know how effective that actually is, because, you know, we've already seen that playing to qualify Nectar is not super good, but everything's worth a try once. You know, this is not a tournament game, this is a ladder game, so we can just throw caution into the wind and get this heron in. It also serves a dual purpose of just kind of pushing out the habitats a little bit more. We can play this hummingbird as well. Just again, pushing out the habitat. So this is a little bit less conventional. Heron and hummingbird are not point scoring, but in theory we're going to be able to get a bunch of nectar and maybe be able to compete for some of these nectar races. So this is again where nectar will be in contention. So now that kind of changes the way we think about this game a little bit. We still want to find one more point scoring bird, I think. Something, probably a bush tit or something would be just perfect for this. But again, we've kind of met that condition that we really wanted to see tempo-wise, and that is getting out to column 4 about midway through round 2. We will take some food and begin converting said food into nectar. And we'll keep digging. You could argue that the Sacred Kingfisher is a really good play here because it's going to give us a consistent source of food, but I think we're fine on food. In fact, I think we're going to give out so many free worms that my opponent is not really going to be able to activate their forest as much as I'd like to anyway, so... Case in point, they're just playing birds, so that's fine. We find Jungle Fowl. Now, Jungle Fowl could be a play. Jungle Fowl could be a nice little extra egg option for the wetlands, but we're going to decide against it. I think at this point, it's fine, right? Like, I don't think we need to fill out this last column. It's pretty clear that by playing multiple food sources, we are playing for a tuck and play strategy. So, you know, we can just do like Minivet into something, into Lyrebird, into Turtle Dove, like whatever. It's all kind of okay. Alright, what are you gonna do? Yeah, so we ignore the food cost. Yeah, that's right. We played Tailorbird because I think Tailorbird is probably the right bird to be playing in this instance. Setting up for that big end of game play. Get Turtle Dove in. Unfortunately, we find Breeding Manager, which is definitely not the bird we wanted to find. We haven't played this white throat, so I think it might be time to get rid of it. We'll see. We take Golden Eagle. So, yeah, this is a little bit more of a kind of a true tuck and play strategy, right? Like, we are definitely not playing the kind of Danko, like very heavy tuck into play what you can. This is very much a we're getting to column 4, we're going to do some wetland stuff, and then we're going to play a game. My opponent is kind of doing well, like their board is not bad, like I like a lot of things I see there. And I should point out that going to the last column of the wetlands is kind of overkill for us at the moment. BioWeaver can tuck 3, we draw 3, we tuck 3, like that's kind of a good spot to be. We don't really need any additional cards, but hey, what do I know? Alright, Lyrebird goes in, and yeah, it's just really good with the common Tailorbird, so totally fine getting that into the game. And now we kind of pivot away into our forest a little bit, getting some additional food here. I think that makes sense. Just get our food all in alignment, and then we can play either this Australian Raven or this Golden Eagle. Okay. Stuff be happening. But yeah, this is very much a game where we're using this wetlands as a base and as an anchor. Using it to get that platform together and then just play birds. And anytime we feel like our birds aren't good enough, just dive in and grab some more. So we'll just go about our business, just play birds, play what we can, get the Australian raven into the game, really good for us. And a hummingbird and the eastern phoebe, both being very useful birds to feed a raven. Strategically keeping food so that we can play this golden eagle as soon as we can, so... Not bad, not bad. And we're building up actually quite a really impressive platform nest Taylor bird moment. Oh, we do play whitethroat. Okay, that must be end of round play. It is, yeah, to win the end of round. It should be good for about 10 eggs as well, so that's kind of nice. We'll take our eggs. And we're still in good position. We can play Golden Eagle, we can draw a bunch, we can get Rosering Parakeet, we can get Right-Breasted Wood Swallow, like we got options. We have plenty of options. Our opponent does have a really good forest going. There's a lot of seeds being cached by the Nutcracker, so totally get that. We pull Red Knot. Red Knot is a pretty good find for us, I think. We're pretty happy to play that. We'll take this Ripback Fairy Wren. That is also a really good find for us. Like, if you look at our cards, we've got so many Star Nests. So getting that into the game will be worth quite a few points. Realistically, we want to play all three birds, but we're not going to have the opportunity to, so... we have to make some difficult choices here in a moment. Opponent's using Hornbill, very annoying. We'll get the Red Knot into the game, and we pull Falconer. Which, you know, I mean... I don't know why we took Spoonbill there, but okay, it's funny. We can't play it, obviously. Red Knot is good, we are winning the Nectar in the Wetlands now. I suspect my opponent should be able to take that back. Or maybe not, who knows? And we find Benelli's Eagle, which is probably the worst but best bird we could have found. We take food here. We get food from the hummingbird because every food that we save here is going to be a cache on this raven. We're pretty happy to see that. We also have the ability on the screen here to turn Nectar into a seed. And that would discard the Nectar and contribute to the Nectar total in the Wetlands. So we don't need to do that, but I'll just point that out. We are very much leading in the Wetlands at the moment, so our opponent could snipe it, but we're going to win at least one of the two Nectar races, and honestly, that's all we can ask for, I think. We get this Golden Eagle in. That's a really big point play between that and Falconer. Really like that. And I'm realizing now that I've kind of mucked up my egg count. We're going to have to lay on the grasslands with our lesser whitethroat. But that will cause some inefficiency because we are unable to get the common tailorbird eggs on the eagle, on Benelli, and the turtle dove. But oh well. Still a good play. They play Greater Adjutant. That'll probably be okay to them, but, you know, good thing we got Breeding Manager, which kind of invalidates things. And we get our big ass sleigh from the tailorbird. And away we go. Winning on birds, losing on bonuses, but doing good on ends of rounds, doing good on eggs, and of course we're going to do good on tucks. The end, 128 to 120. I think that's not bad at all. They had good bonus cards in Ecologist, Popmon is fine, and they stole Food Web. Oh, that's funny. But the real thing is I want to look at our board. Do we get a shot of our board? We do not. Where is the last shot of our board? Yeah, around here. Alright, here we go. So this is our board. Another wetland-centric game. This time we didn't end up going for like the really heavy tuck gameplay. This is more of the, you know, wetlands pivot out into playing birds, so very much tuck and play. We probably could have tucked more. I mean, this technically doesn't even fulfill my criteria for a wetlands game. Maybe I need to revisit that criteria. However, I think you can clearly see from the optics that it is a wetlands game. A very different kind of wetlands game, though, a game where we use our really strong platform, our really strong access to cards and food to be able to power the rest of the game. And yes, we give out a lot of co-op between the Hummingbird and the Phoebe, but we are able to turn that into game-winning advantages anytime that there is co-op. It usually favors the player who has the strongest card access, and of course, as a wetlands player, you are 100% going to have the best card access in the game. So, alright, that is 3 examples of wetlands games. I'm sure I'm going to bring more to the table once I found them, but for now, that's all I have. This was probably going to hard cut into another set of videos, though, so I guess we'll see when we get there. Alright, we're back here. More Wetlands Engines games. Alright. As before, let's speed through some of the stuff. We don't really care too much, but what do we see in our opening hand? Mute Swan Hummingbird. Not the ideal starting combination for a Wetlands engine. I think you definitely prefer some kind of additional tempo in some eggs, but we also have the Blue Throat. And we have seen that the Blue Throat is one of the worst performing birds in a Wetlands engine, but maybe this Princess Steph is going to alleviate some problems for us. So we'll just get this Hummingbird into the game and we'll see how things go. Silvereye, I guess in theory could be interesting, but I think probably not a bird we want to look at too seriously in Wetlands engines. I think giving out co-op Nectar is just a death sentence, so be very, very surprised if we pick that up. My opponent skips using the Princess Steph ability. Good instinct, I think. Don't want to do that right now. A little bit too early to be committing to something like that. Could be just like empowering my ability to just go crazy in the wetlands. It also makes things a little bit awkward because if I do eggs here, my opponent could use Steph and get a free egg. So I'm going to be a little bit careful here. We're going to take the Ribble mostly as a denial pick. Penguin could come up, could be relevant, but unlikely. And unfortunately for us, we reveal Great Indian Bastard. Definitely something that my opponent's going to pick up, and not something that's super interesting to us. They are giving us a free card, which is kind of cool. I like free cards. We just have to commit at this point. Like, we just got to get the game going. We got to get our Mute Swan into the game, and if our opponent's smart, they will use Princess Steph now. Well, they are smart, but they may not realize that they've got a fantastic opportunity to grab some eggs, and they missed their window. They actually play Cassin Sparrow, which is a little bit surprising. So we get Mute Swan into the game, and we stand to be the beneficiary of any Steph eggs once again. So a little bit of heads-up play there might have been to our detriment, but we got a little bit lucky there. So Net's objective will be to play this Blue Throat and find better birds to play. I think we are definitely in the market for an alt egg source, because currently right now we're double co-op food, which it can work, but you know, we've seen that the alt egg is so much more valuable. So we see an opportunity here to actually grab 2 Nectar, which I kind of like. Ditch that Ribble. We're never going to play Ribble, and this is going to allow us to just get Blue Throat into the game immediately. So again, the thing missing from the analysis was really the temporal element, like how quickly are you able to get things set up. Getting 3 birds into your wetlands in round 1, with a round to spare, mind you, is pretty nice. Opponent gets Sri Lanka Blue Magpie into the game, so that's a little bit spooky. Definitely going to be able to make use of all my co-op food in a spooky way, basically. We have an opportunity to tie the end of round here, and I think we should always take these opportunities when they come. Like, we need to lay eggs at some point. We don't have an egg layer. We might as well lay eggs. This is going to be good enough to play a couple more birds, and hopefully we can find some useful stuff. So this common goldeneye, just got to check to make sure our opponent's not really going into the cavity nests. Otherwise, we can just start doing stuff. And we find a main duck. Brilliant. You can see that I took a fish there, kind of prepping this pelican, because you can see a world where you can put the pelican down into the wetlands and do blue throat fish and get the points off of the pelican, but that's okay. Not an ideal game plan. I think that's a pretty slow game plan. You're basically giving co-op fish for 2 points, which is not super great in my opinion. Much better if you can use that to play birds, and main duck is going to do that, so we're going to get our third third food producing bird into our wetlands. So at the current count, once we play this bird, we are getting 4 cards, and we can tuck up to 6. So we are in -2 cards, so we have to be a little bit careful around how aggressive we are tucking our cards, but we just need to be a little bit mindful. Ideally, we can find a egg source soon. Something like a morning dove would be pretty much the best case scenario here, but we'll settle for pretty much anything, I imagine. We just kind of need stuff. And it could just be that we do this common starling, because now that we've got this main duck, we have a source of food that is non-co-op, and we can just kind of feed that. My opponent picks up some nice things like Asian emerald dove. That's pretty good. This brown falcon could be interesting. Canada goose could be very interesting. Definitely one of those classic main duck friend birds. So we are able to pick up a bunch of seeds on that turn, and now we kind of have a pretty nice setup. Like, we can kind of use the main duck and the Canada goose to kind of score points, while blue throat and hummingbird are finding us or getting us food to play birds. The biggest problem that we're going to have, though, is that we won't have an egg source. So unless we happen to find golden pheasant, we're going to run into a small problem. We'll get rid of this pelican. We're never going to play you, and we can get into the Canada goose and get going. So yeah, I think as far as Wetlands Engine is concerned, we are feeling pretty good about life. We've got 2 mass tuckers. We don't have eggs, which is plainly stating the obvious at this point, but it is going to be a concern for us. How are we going to turn the food into points? Are we just going to go Starling Swift and just turn all of that co-op food that we're going to give out, turn that into points? Or are we going to do something different? Right, well, that's kind of the decision. So we're going to draw, see what options we got available to us. Do find a snow bunting, which is, kind of interesting. Worth keeping an eye on. Our opponent's not really going for anything tucking, so who cares? We'll get rid of that. We'll get the blue throat to give us a nectar, simply because we're not going to get one from the hummingbird. And our opponent's going to cash whatever we give away anyway. The nectar's not really going to change any of the races, so we can just plop the starling into the game and to go for it. Our opponent actually does end up giving us a nectar, which is a little bit surprising, but not the end of the world. So we can play this common starling, and we can just kind of get rid of any excess food that we happen to find. For a Wetlands Engine, we're feeling pretty good about life, honestly. We've got Wetlands is completely full, we're scoring points, we're looking at birds. Just really need to find that solution to our egg problem. Because otherwise we're going to be kind of limited to that kind of mid-tuck strategy, and we know a mid-tuck strategy only wins about 30% of the time, which is a little bit lower than what I would like, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. So our opponent gets basically a free end of round win with this Asian emerald dove. Nice and efficient for them to do that. But we're okay. We are the Wetlands Engine player. We would like to win end of rounds, but it's not the be-all and end-all of what we're doing here. Our opponent is slowly creeping up, and will probably end up winning this Wetlands Nectar as well. So we are also in the world where we just kind of have to accept that we're losing a bunch of nectar. My opponent finds Kia, which pretty good for them. We should deny this painted bunting, which we will do with the mute swan, I imagine, or we just made a horrible mistake. The ash throated could have been interesting. Would have been a couple of eggs, but yeah, probably a bit bit difficult. So we've actually cluing onto a thing here. Our opponent's actually not going heavy on the food at all, despite having Sri Lankan Blue Magpie. And I think it's because they're relying on the co-op that we're giving out in order to power the gameplay. So we just skip the Hummingbird and the Blue Throat on that turn. Try and force them to have to commit into their forest to actually get the food they want to play birds, not sponge off the free resources that we're giving out. So little trick there. We can play this Goshawk as well. Just get that into the game. Get a couple of get a couple more points. Get a bird into the forest. Helps us, means we can qualify for the last end of round. So that's always nice. Always useful to pick up birds like that. And then we just have to decide whether or not we're going to play this common starling or not. Well, maybe this white-breasted wood swallow is sufficiently interesting, something we can use in the last end of round in round 4, sorry, to maybe do something interesting. In the meantime, though, we can just kind of pluck things, give them all away. We are going to go back to the co-op now that our opponent has invested, and we can just, start accumulating more points. Yeah, my opponent did run into Falcon, so food is no longer a problem for them, but maybe we made them think about it for a little bit. Who knows? They've also only spent 2 Nectar in the forest. That might be a region we can target later on. Like, if we can give out a bunch of Nectar with the Blue Throat, we might be able to, like, randomly just, like, tip the Nectar in our favor. So, we'll see how we go. We'll see what we're able to find. In the interim, I think we're just going to keep on digging. See what we can find. Autumn Skull. Would have loved to have had that. We'll just keep on keeping on. Able to suck 5 cards a turn. That's pretty nice. And yeah, just gonna keep on doing Wetlands Engine things. The real struggle here is just working around this egg situation. We really don't want to lay eggs right now, unless we find Golden Pheasant. That's really the key bird at this point in time. They've already committed their Kia. That's kind of interesting. Partridge comes up. Oh, that's a lot of eggs there, if you ask me. I think, though, maybe the catch here is that while we are running a, 7-point engine, we are giving 2 points away, so it's really just a 5-point engine. And maybe those extra points being given away are going to come back to hurt me. Actually, no, it is a true 7-point engine, because every food that we get gets converted to points on the starling, so... But maybe giving our opponent additional resources is not so smart. I don't know. It's tough to tell. Grabbing a bunch of Nectar, because I think the plan here is just overload the, see if we can overload the Grasslands Nectar. Not like our opponent can spend the Nectar in any useful way, but we can. Alright. Yeah, I want to keep the worms in reserve, just in case if we want to play this Common Swift. Deny the Spoonbill. That is exactly the kind of bird my opponent would love. We're going to hold back this Cerulean Warbler, just in case we end up playing it. I mean, there is an argument that we could play it. Never mind, we got rid of it. But we are gonna keep getting worms so that we can try and feed this Common Swift. Score is looking good. I imagine the score is looking excellent for my opponent as well, so not something we should be too confident in at the moment. I mean, any game where you're giving out this amount of co-op, there's always the risk that your opponent will just be able to do things. Bit of Moltoni's Warbler, goodbye. Give out more worms. Oh, and we were able to get a little bit of nectar. That's nice. Yeah, there is an argument that you know, at some point maybe the blue throat should be giving out nectar so that we can try and flip the grasslands. Ask our opponent the difficult question: can you continue to put nectar into your grasslands? You still need to win the wetlands, so maybe we're asking difficult questions. I don't know. Hey, is the common grackle. We would have loved to see that. And Kakapo has come up. Well, now things are very interesting. Now, there is an argument where you say we go Kakapo here instead of the Swift. And maybe that's starting to be on our mind a little bit. Especially now that we've drawn this Minivet. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting situation. There is a world where if we give out some more nectar with this blue throat, we can trick our opponent into thinking we're going after the grasslands nectar. But in reality, we flip the forest nectar, which could be fun. Ruby crowned kinglet. Wow, we just really found all of the forest birds. Well, unfortunately, we can't play the Ruby Crown Kinglet. Yeah, so we are going to commit to this Minivet plan. I think that makes some sense. Our opponent's probably going to take a food here, and that will give us the opportunity to potentially... Oh, they skipped it. Never mind. Yeah, so maybe if we had pushed harder on some of these nectars, we could have maybe done better. But like I said, the score is looking good. The tucks are strong. They, of course, have the Great Indian Bustards, so I mean, that's always a bit of a bother to work against. We get the Kakapo into the game, and maybe the Kakapo will do something nice for us, or maybe we're reaching a little bit. It is what, like a 9-point play to do those two birds together, so it's like a 8-point play minus the egg, plus the potential of a bonus card is, you know, the Swift would have been close to 10 points, so as long as we hit on the bonus card, we are in good standing. And the scores are insane. Yeah, we gotta get more tucks. More tucks. The Black Swan's gonna do some serious work here. I think there's 4 birds there that are bigger than 100. That's not bad. That is not bad. And Kakapo finds a citizen scientist, maxed out. So overall, definitely the better play than going for the common Swift. So the score is fantastic, 145. Who knows though, I mean, could be very close. In games where we're giving out so much co-op, you never know. They've got so much food on their cards. It's all going to come down to how many tucks do we have. And just not enough. 145 to 149. Let's quickly see what bonus cards they have. Diet Specialist and Ecologist. Well, that Great Indian Bastard really did do the job at the end of the game. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But it kind of goes to show why, you know, sometimes the co-op is a little bit too risky or whatever. Even if we had flipped the Nectar, by the way, that's only another 3-point swing. We are still 1 point short. So unfortunately, would still not be enough to win the game. It kind of goes to show that when you don't have the egg access in your wetlands, like, you can kind of get boxed in and can kind of get limited by what you can do. If we had an egg bird in our wetlands, maybe we could have done some more stuff. But, you know, the Sri Lanka Blue Magpie was basically the perfect counter here for what we are trying to do, right? Like, you can't really... You gotta be aware of the game state, right? There are certain birds that are just really strong into certain strategies, and Sri Lanka Blue Magpie single-handedly won this game. Not because our opponent did a particularly good job of feeding it, but we did a particularly good job of feeding it. And the double-edgedness is something that we always have to be mindful of as we, you know, do Wetlands Engine things. Does that mean we should have cut off the co-op at some point and just gone hard on tucks? Probably. I think we probably end up with a similar amount of tucks if we had just committed to... well, maybe we'd have less tucks because we wouldn't have got any on the startling, but we would have done you know, maybe 130, 131 on the points if we had cut off. And then maybe our opponent's missing 15 caches or something. Who knows? So, yeah, gotta be mindful. Always gotta be mindful of what's going on. Alright, so we can do even more wetland stuff because this is all about wetland stuff. So here's another one. Ring-billed gull tray, white-faced heron. Well, I mean... yeah, this is a pretty innocent start here, I think. We are quite happy to play this painted whitethroat. We can play maybe this white-faced heron, and then just kind of play a normal game. But clearly we're going to go into the wetlands, otherwise this would not be a marked wetlands game. So we'll see how it transpires. Maybe we can skip over a little bit here. Alright, we missed a little bit. Alright. So, as expected, we're just going to play this white start. I like playing this white start here. I think getting a little bit of extra food when you don't have additional draw power is really nice. So we'll get a little bit of extra food. That way we can play the white-faced heron and just flip the tray the days, which very much like that. Brown falcon for my opponent. So far, fairly innocent. And we flip trays, because that's what we do. Barrow's Goldeneye, maybe? No, Chiff Chaff. Okay, hello, friend. So we're going to keep the fish from the heron. We could have had cached 2 there, but much more useful to be spending that on flipping the tray. We're finding some good stuff. So Savi, Chiff Chaff, white-faced heron, already sounding pretty exciting. With a red start, like, hello. Hello, very much. And you can see the second end of round, sorry, is a tucking end of round. So you do expect that Chiff Chaff naturally has an advantage in these situations. So might be a great opportunity to get that into the game. Plus the little bit of extra free eggs from this red start. I think you're in a pretty good position. And now Yellow-headed Blackbird comes up. I imagine my opponent's going to take that. And Common Grackle comes up in its place. So this is a pretty nice situation to be in. Like we've got an egg access, we've got additional cards, we've got Chiff Chaff, we've got a little bit of plus food in our forest as well, which is really going to help us just get these birds into the game. So even though this game did not start off very much as a Wetlands Engine kind of game, you can kind of see the wheels turning in the head, right? We can play this Chiff Chaff, we can play this Grackle, we can draw, we can play Savi's Warbler, and then we're already into the recard action of our wetlands. So out of nowhere, we are zooming. We're off to the races. European turtle. Woodstock is interesting as well. Like maybe that's a bird that we're interested in at some point. Maybe not right this second, but if we're unable to find additional pieces for the wetlands, we can always pivot back out into playing a really good bird like Woodstock. But yeah, with Savi's Warbler, I think maybe we're optimistic we can find better, but we'll see what happens. Looks like my opponent's really going hard after this end of round. They have gone with this Grandala, which just gives them an extra tuck, so well played to them. So YellowDuck could be interesting. We will skip on the Grackle, and the reason we skip on the Grackle is so that we can get the 4 eggs from the red start. So just keeping our options open at the moment. We are running a card. We're running a card surplus, I think. We draw 5. We can tuck 6. No, 5. Okay, we're running card neutral, so built up a little bit of a buffer there for no reason, but that's okay. So not really finding anything useful at the moment. We can just tuck the things that we don't really need. We are kind of thinking maybe this short-toed tree creeper could be fun. We do have a lot of eggs, right? Like, we are getting 4 a turn out of 4 a round from this red start. The Grackle is getting us additional eggs. We have the food to play the tree creeper immediately. And indeed, in goes this tree creeper. A little bit of a little cute little forest pivot here. That's nice. I love that. We can see the idea. Like, we're scoring points, finding good cards with this Chiff Chaff. And then we're just going to be able to, like, really accelerate what we're doing in our forest in no time at all. Yeah, I probably don't need that nuthatch. Just get rid of cards. And keep caching stuff on this heron, which is doing it silently. He's done a pretty good job. It's found 6 fish fresh this game, which is, you know, better than most. Unfortunate that we missed the Nectar here. You can see the thought process. We want to play the European Turtle Dove if we could. Forest Owlet will have to do. But yeah, we can kind of get a little bit of a forest going. One more bird in the forest will clear out the eggs in our wetlands, which is fine. And then we can play. I mean, we can just do stuff. So feeling good about life. Forest Owlet misses, as is tradition. We're going to play Stella's J. Remember, our bonus card is Forester, so I didn't remember that before seeing the Forest Owlet. So looks like we're playing to max out Forester, which is kind of cool. Didn't expect that from like a wetlands kind of angle. We got 1 turn left. We're going to lay on the red start. Makes sense. That just allows us to get 3 eggs for the end of round. Maybe puts our opponent in an awkward position. We can use those eggs anyway. Alright, white-headed duck, that would be nice, but I think at this point, we're just going to draw a little bit and then play whatever we can find. That's really good for us. Kia, Turtle Dove, Woodstalk, all pretty good. Looks like maybe we're going to skip out on maxing out Forester. Oh no, we're not. We're just going to take some food. Okay. I guess that's... Oh yeah, we can play Woodstalk. That makes sense. Get an extra tuck. Yeah, makes sense. In goes Woodstalk. Now we find Orthologist, which is probably okay. Probably good enough to play this game. And then what? Draw Kia, probably. Score is not so good this game, so maybe we have gone wrong at some point. Or maybe we just do draw Kia Turtle Dove. That's also possible. Yep, in goes Turtle Dove. Red Banda, okay. In goes Turtle Dove, and we can kind of do something with Kia here. Our opponent hasn't played very many cards, but... yeah, I think... surely we just draw here. Oh, we find a nice, decent-sized Rhodologist there. Just checking for food ties, I guess, because I think, Rhodologist is such a good find. There's not really any need to dig much further than that. I guess maybe we're thinking maybe we can sneak this end of round, which could be valuable. Lay 4 eggs in our grasslands and get a 6-point flip in the process. That seems to make a little bit of sense. Oh, instead we get this golden pheasant, which that's going to put the end of round out of reach. So I think, yeah, now we just go drawing, and we can tuck everything. Nice, big last turn. That was 7-point turn, 8-point turn. Sorry, with the fish, and we'll see how it all shakes out. So, a very interesting kind of game. Bonus cards we do pretty well, thanks to that late find Rhodologist. We're drawing pretty even, but we're just going to excel towards the end of the game. Good thing we were counting for the food tie, because it ends up mattering. 114 to 114. I think, I think very interesting game. What did my opponent find? Fishery, Unfortunate, Omni, Falconer. Wow, okay. We got a little bit lucky there, so... I think if you're looking at this kind of wetlands board, I think... maybe the pivot into the forest wasn't so smart. I think, Forest Owlet was lucky to hit once. Stella's J is really not the kind of... That was effectively a 2-point bird after we paid 3 eggs to get it into the game. I think we probably needed to be playing bigger birds in the forest to kind of justify that pivot. I do think the Tree Creeper worked out quite nicely. I just think that we needed bigger birds to play. Like, our opponent found Great Horned Owl, and that would have, for instance, been a fantastic addition to the forest here, but unfortunately, we were unable to get it. But yeah, we kind of did what we could. We did well on the bonus cards. But I think if we were to be super critical, maybe the forest was a little bit underpowered this game, and we probably should have stuck to our guns and just tucked a bunch more. Probably would have scored just a little bit better. So, okay, that is another Wetlands game done. But we're seeing kind of a pattern here, right? Like we're able to do some fun stuff with these birds. I don't think we've looked at this game yet. Nope, we haven't. I'd remember if it was a Mute Swan game, because I don't like Mute Swan. There, I said it. You can hate me. So we're gonna get Mute Swan and a Bullfinch. I like Bullfinch, just a bit of easy food access. No reason not to. We take Pallet Dissector. Maybe that's a sign that we're interested in Penguin here. Maybe Penguin can find ourselves some fish so that we can qualify Pallet Dissector. That would be nice. Penguin, not normally a bird you go out of your way to grab, but, you know, if there's a reason, then you might as well. Alright, well, while our opponent thinks, we'll just skip it along a little bit. Alright. Hey, what happened? Alright, so turn 1, what do we do? I think Goldeneye is definitely worth taking, right? I think Goldeneye is such a strong bird, especially with the things like Tough Tip Mouse, which combos really nicely into it. I think Penguin is really good for our bonus cards, so unsurprisingly, we end up taking both. So maybe we can use that Goldeneye to get us some eggs throughout the game. That'd be nice. But that has set us back quite a bit. So this Bullfinch is going to be really important. My opponent plays Goldcrest. Big fan of that bird. You know that around these parts. We love a good Goldcrest. But yeah, we'll get the Bullfinch in. Hopefully we can grab those 2 Nectar. We can't, because our opponent takes them. And yeah, we can grab a seed, just so we can get our Mute Swan into the game. But maybe we want to do things a little bit differently. Maybe we want to take food again. Try and get this food for the Penguin. And look at that, we've got the opportunity to get food for the Penguin. So we take it. Even more Nectar comes up. Jeez, so much Nectar. Now you're in the vicinity of maybe we play Goldeneye and Penguin and leave Mute Swans around too. That probably... that could make a little bit of sense. Just going really hard on this Bullfinch. Wow. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we have 3 birds that we really want to play. And Penguin, Goldeneye... You know, if we can get Goldeneye into the game this round, that's really good for us, so... We should be able to do everything. So yeah, we can play Penguin. We can throw a seed, probably lay eggs, get Goldeneye into the game. The real question is, do you put it into the wetlands or the forest? I would argue probably the forest. Mostly because I think you want to try and get better birds in your wetlands. Goldeneye being a non-scoring bird and not really giving us tempo other than, you know, a bit of eggs. Probably not something that something we want in the ideal world. Much better to have a space-filling bird like a Predator Power or something that can continue to score us points every time we hit the wetlands. So. And I don't think Goldeneye is actually that bad in the forest, so yeah, in we go. It also qualifies us Nectar in the forest, so that's also quite good. Quite happy to see that. And we basically get a free egg, which is really cool. In fact, we get more free eggs, so Golden Pheasant played. That is really helpful. As a Wetlands player, you know, that's 4 eggs. That gets us food. That gets us enough eggs to get into column 4 really nicely. And Eastern Phoebe has come up as well, which is just insane value for us. Like, it's another cavity nest. Our opponent doesn't even deny it. I don't even know if they realize it's so good for us. We can take it, we can play it and Mute Swan, and then just kind of get into our business. Like, oh, we're not even doing that. Okay. Being bold, leaving the Eastern Phoebe there. I guess it's not really good for my opponent, so we're just kind of being bold and saying, alright, I'm declaring Mute Swan on you. Do you want this Eastern Phoebe or not? And it turns out that they don't want it. Say goodbye to the Green Pheasant. We'll take the Grey Warbler. I think Grey Warbler is potentially a useful bird. We're going to have some alt food from this Eastern Phoebe. We have the egg situation under control thanks to the Goldeneye, and maybe we can do Warbler into something nice. So definitely like these play another birds when we're in in this kind of wetlands mindset. Graceful Predator is interesting. It's another Starnest bird. Can work well with this golden eye. Uses the food that the Phoebe produces, which is always nice. And it's okay points too, like 5 points is okay. Nothing to really write home about though, but you know, could be good for the end of round as well. End of round is brown pallets, we have 4 of them. Wetlands Engines are usually pretty good at competing for the brown power EOR, so yeah, just have to wait and see. Wait and see what's possible. I don't think we go for it as a first choice. I think maybe we pick it up if we don't find anything better. So Australian Raven is kind of good, but yeah. Find 3 fish immediately. That's really nice. So little penguin is doing its job on the... I think that's the 3rd time we've used it. Maybe it's the 2nd time we've used it. But it only needs to hit a couple of times. If it does that, we will get the full benefit of this. I like to stick there. Our opponent's got a Raven. Oh no. That is always spooky. Lots of bonus birds coming up. We like those. Bonus birds are interesting. We find our own Raven. We get rid of Great Indian Bustard. Little Penguin gets the 4th fish. That's nice. The Great Indian Bustard being out of the game is really good. Because typically, I mean, we could have used it, but at least we know our opponent doesn't have it. We don't really mind it that much if we don't have it. Now we have to ask ourselves, is the Raven actually worth playing here? And I mean, you can kind of see why it might be, right? Like, that is a pretty good argument. Because you can play the Raven, and then the Golden Eye is going to be filling up with stuff. Like, maybe we want to play this, maybe we want to do Warbler into Corsican Nuthatch. That way we can max out the Golden Eye eggs. I don't hate that either. Mockingbird Raven. Oh no, that's a problem. Not a fan of Mockingbird Raven. Well, at least we weren't really serious about competing for any of the Nectars anyway. And yeah, we will go for this Grey Warbler into Nuthatch play. We pulled Theranologist, which is an absolutely terrible bonus card for us. But it is what it is. And we're just going to force down this Raven. Okay. Alright, that's bold. I don't know if I agree with that sequencing, but... you know, we've done it. So that gives us Nectar access in our wetlands, so... a little bit of a Nectar battle going on now between us and our opponent. I do like our opponent's setup slightly better with the Mockingbird, but... overall, I feel better about having the Raven set up as is. Finding lots of bonus birds. We love finding bonus birds. I'm thinking maybe this Avocet can get played here as well. If our opponent's going to go hard into their grasslands, then maybe this Avocet is really, really, really nice. It is going to be a little bit of a struggle to get it into the game, though. We probably need to lay eggs, play Avocet, and then keep drawing. I don't know. It's stuffy. Yeah, we'll get rid of this Raven. Well, the other Raven. Unlikely that we're going to score too good on that. Our plan here is to get as many of these nice bonus birds into the game as possible. Maybe if we're lucky we can dream of getting Cassin's Finch, but I don't know. Our opponent's getting their Wetlands Engines set up. Australian Ibis, that's not bad. Give them a little bit more card access, plus the ability to draw some, tuck some cards if they want it. We're going to get in with the Avocet to counter it. So that's going to be our kind of alt egg in this situation. A bit of an unconventional alt egg, but it will do the job. And I think we only can have the ambition to play one bird this round, so... I think we don't have to make a decision yet either. We're pretty confident our opponent will lay eggs, so we can just kind of leave things be. Chiff Chaff comes up. Well, maybe in a different game, Chiff Chaff would have been good. Yeah, the main issue here is that if we wanted to compete on this end of round, we would need to do an egg action here. Maybe that's not a crazy idea. Winning the end of round is kind of valuable. So we're going to ignore that. Oh, we're going hard. We're going hard on the greed. Okay. Makes sense. We're really just loading up on this golden eye for next round, so... Well, Little Penguin's doing an okay job. Already got 8 caches. Don't hate that. And what are we gonna play? Probably the Longspur? Oh, no, Painted Bunting's smaller than the Longspur, I'm pretty sure. Maybe they tie, I don't remember. Alright, in goes Painted Bunting, and we find Platform Builder, which we will take. You could say maybe we play Tailor Bird and White Stork if we really wanted to try and max it, but I think I don't really care. The fact that we qualified at all is good enough, and we tied the end of round, which is also, as we say, good enough. They play Kia, so that's a little bit annoying, so they're kind of getting their game going. Their game is looking pretty good, honestly. I mean, my only critique is that the Raven was into the game a little bit late, but it's still looking pretty scary, so we're gonna do our stuff. Gonna deny that Ribble, don't want our opponent to get their hands on it. And just kind of formulate what our last couple moves are gonna be here, so probably just gonna play this Longspur and then see what we need to be doing. Seems to be the most logical way forward here. Yep, and goes Longspur, commit as few Nectar as possible. And we kinda... Well, we get Citizen Scientist, which we can actually use. Oh, why did we take Citizen Scientist? Yeah, it's a little bit strange. We get free min bound on Citizen Scientist, because we just have to use the Muse one on the Raven and they have a set. Oh well. Oh, we're taking Cassowary, okay. Interesting. Cassowary Gaming, okay. Alright. Oh, we are going to play White Stork. Interesting. I'm really not sure how I'm playing. I'm supposed to be playing this endgame. It's a little bit strange. A little bit strange, if you ask me. Yeah, play the Tailor Bird, that makes sense. Yeah, then why didn't we just take Citizen Scientist? Like, I don't know. If we lose this game, I blame myself for being an idiot. Which is pretty typical. Anyway, all done. Massive deficit on birds, that's a bit concerning. Eggs we do well thanks to Tailor Bird, and of course we're going to do well on the Tucks, and it is in the end a fairly comprehensive victory. What did our opponent have? Fishery Manager. Massively overachieving on Fishery Manager. And Enclosure Builder for Minbound. Alright, makes sense. Not bad. Alright, a little bit unconventional, this one. I mean, I don't think we have any of, like, the traditional wetlands kind of pieces here. We do have, like, you know, obviously we got the Mass Tucker and the Mute Swan. And the Little Penguin was just kind of like a little bit of a supplement here. It did all right by the end of the game. I mean, 8 fish cached, sorry. Basically on par with the Mute Swan's output, which, you know, is pretty good. But also, it got us Pallet Dissector, which was super valuable. It's not often you see a Wetlands Raven. It's one of these games where it really paid out. I think the GoldenEye, giving us a regular source of eggs, kind of served as that kind of proxy alt egg situation, so that's really helpful. and this American avocet as well, kind of giving us a little bit of extra eggs from time to time to help keep this raven fed. Really tricky to kind of get the raven into the game and make it useful in a situation like this, but we were able to find a way to do it. And that last play Taylor Bird was quite nice, so I will obviously critique myself. I think obviously you keep Citizen Scientist here. We should have, and then tuck the 2 things on the raven and the avocet to get min bound, but whatever. Either here nor there. Again, but we did kind of have all the trademarks of a successful Wetlands engine going in this game. It just was unconventional in the sense that the GoldenEye was not in the wetlands, so it was alt-egg outside of the wetlands. The avocet being a counter to a Grasslands engine, providing more eggs, and then just that soul, and then the raven being used as a nectar food source. We didn't even win any of the nectars, but just the ability to get all that extra food kind of helpful. So I think the message is becoming fairly clear around how these Wetlands engines come about. So maybe we stop there. I'm sure you're sick of Wetlands engines by now. I'm sick of Wetlands engines by now. But yeah, I hope we are learning things. Maybe we're not learning things. I don't know. At this point, who even knows? Alright. If I find more games, we'll do stuff on them, but otherwise we'll call it there. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Alright, I lied. There are some more Wetlands games that I want to review, and I remembered that the World Cup actually had 2 really good Wetlands examples from 2024, not last year's one, 2024. So we've got 2 players here who are very well known in the community. Orthalion on the left-hand side here. We've played them a couple times. Very, very good player. On the right-hand side, we've got Sim17, the GOAT. Won more tournaments in the Discord than anyone else. Insanely, really strong player. But we're here to watch Orthalion, because they're going to put up some pretty cool wetland stuff across these games. This is only with Oceania, no Asia in this board. Obviously, we have Asia these days, but 2024, sorry, didn't have Asia yet. But I think still a lot of the wetlands principles applies. I think Asia does kind of ramp it up a little bit more, kind of requiring you to score even better at other wetlands, but broadly speaking, I think the principles are still pretty good to see. So on the right hand side, we can see that Sim is grappling with what to keep here. I mean, there's a couple options. I mean, you got to take the Great Teal probably, and this rest of everything else looks kind of okay. I don't know why their screen is cut off. That is not a me thing. That is a recording thing from the recording that was made, basically. So unfortunately I can't fix that. I am not moving the mouse at the moment. That is someone else. Maybe they're gonna fix the crop. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's okay. And then we can see that Sim keeps everything, but we can see on the other side, Orthalion really only has one good bird, and that's, I mean, you could go Squawko here. I think Squawko probably is the better bird in Asia, but especially with Fishery Manager. But they're gonna go Tree Swallow, a very classic, a classic kind of pre-Oceania thinking. Tree Swallow, tuck and draw, a very, very powerful bird. Being able to improve the quality of your hand is just a very important thing. This white wagtail in the tray should pretty much automatically be snappled up by Sim. Be very surprising if he just doesn't take it. Yep, take that, and the barn swallow, another really kind of useful bird, especially in wagtail games. You can throw that in your grasslands and get a couple extra birds out, which is kind of nice. So in goes Tree Swallow, unsurprising. I think this this pink power, I forget the name of it, Region Sparrow or some nonsense, you know, for if your opponent takes seed from the bird feeder. It's pretty bad power, but I guess it was their only option. Ring-billed gull comes up, and I think that's a pretty good signal here, and American coot. So Orthalion's gonna go with this lots of plus tuck options here, which kind of goes against the logic that was in the notes that were the statistics that we found, but I think still important to review a game like this. And they do pick up this hummingbird. They do have kiwi. Now bush that's come up. Really bad positioning here for Sim, because Sim knows he's got coot. Sim knows that he's got Tree Swallow. this bush tit really does complete the wetlands for them. And it's, yeah, you like, they don't want to deny it because they prefer to play this grey teal, but you just have to deny bush tit. You just don't have a choice in this situation. If you let that go through, you basically lose the game for free. So maybe a little bit controversially, we see Orthalion playing this hummingbird into the grasslands so they can get one food and some eggs at the same time. Maybe that is a good plan. Maybe that's something that my analysis should have looked at more. Maybe I can do another pass on that, of where you play hummingbirds into your grasslands to try and get that efficiency in action. But I think it is a good find nonetheless. Wagtail goes in for Sim, I think. Very, very natural. I mean, it's obviously what they want to do here. Play a nice white wagtail game. Coop goes in for Orthalion, makes sense. Ringbill Gull being 2 Omnis, much easier to play than the Coot. So just keep that food in reserve and go nuts. The Hummingbird does help white wagtail a lot. That is a reason to play it in your grasslands as well. Less food giving out, less lift you're giving to the wagtail player, so that kind of makes sense. Sim's got one more turn left, and they've probably got a very awkward situation. I don't know how much food they have, which is, a little bit annoying because the recording's been cut off. But you can imagine that they're doing a food calculation here to try and figure out what they can and can't do, whether they can afford to play this bird. They cannot, so they're just going to do that. But I think, again, Orthalion's the player that we're actually interested in here. Key point, they've got 4 birds down in round 1. The wetlands is already built out to column 3. That is already a strong predictor of success. And now Red-winged Blackbird comes up. That kind of completes the puzzle for them, doesn't it? Penguins come up, but that's not really a bird that you're very interested in this situation. I mean, maybe you keep it because maybe you want a piece like that, but, Chiff Chaff comes up, so now we pretty much know what we're doing in this game. We can get a Blackbird in, and we can get a Chiff Chaff in and just score a ton of points. Now, the issue for Orthalion is that Blackbird's going to cap, and then it's basically just a Chiff Chaff. And is Chiff Chaff really the bird you want to just spend all your time laying eggs for? Like, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, this hummingbird is really proving valuable. Basically, every use has enabled an extra bird to be played. And we have to use it one more time to get the Chiff Chaff into the game, and that's going to allow Orthalion to qualify this end of round, which is really quite good for them. So very much, very, very useful, I think you can say. Meanwhile, Sim is just doing white wagtail things, as you just do. You just kind of take what you can get and play stuff. I promise, I am not moving the mouse. This is not me. That is whoever made this recording. Chiff Chaff goes in, which I don't know if I agree with, but I guess the Blackbird is kind of reductive in the sense that doesn't really add anything to this engine. And I guess you're not short on eggs, I suppose. I don't know. I kind of feel like you want the Blackbird, but maybe they're thinking something different here. I don't know. We're along for the ride. We're learning. Yep, more eggs being laid, and that qualifies Orthalion for the end of round. Can take a seed and play this Blackbird, and then you've got a full wetlands up and running in no time at all. So that Hummingbird's been quite nifty, hasn't it? The ability to get that food and that eggs in one go. So we should definitely rerun the analysis and checking to see if these if the presence of alt food in the grasslands is valuable or not. Meanwhile, Sim is doing something interesting, kind of playing a grassland-centric game. Not really advisable in Oceania, but I think that's something that don't really have a strong forest to work with, so they're just trying to build out a strong habitat, and that's just going to be their forest. Meanwhile, Orthalion just scores 1,000,000 points, so how many points do they get? They get 6 points, I think, 6 or 7. And they're seeing lots of really good birds, but they're all going to go away. So yeah, duck and 2, 3 plus 3. So it's like, hold on, so I need to count this properly. So after the Blackbird is properly filled, it's going to be 1 plus 3 is 4 plus another 3. So it's a 7-point engine, 8 if the egg is available. And Sim really is going all out in this grasslands, which is a bit of a problem for them. I think they really need additional food, and they just kind of don't have it. They will be playing Eastern Imperial Eagle. I think that's obviously good play. They've got this Whiteback Woodpecker in hand, which would have been really good to get into the game, but they're going to find it very difficult to do that given the game state. Yeah, there goes the Eastern Imperial Eagle, and we're just going to see Orthalion draw a bunch. Mute Swan comes up. That would have been nice. The Blackbird is full, so that we're just going to tuck everything. So now it's a 7-point engine. You just run this for the rest of the game. Just run it for the rest of the game. So this is actually a good example of the full tuck. So this is going to be very illuminating, I think. It's going to show you just how good and or bad full tuck is. Because like this is a, you know, a very committal strategy. There's no thought process left in this game. It is just pure hit the wetlands button as much as you possibly can. Meanwhile, Sim is having to actually play the game, and, you know, without the right pieces, they are definitely going to be struggling. They're really trying to use their own Grasslands engine to keep up. In theory, their Grasslands engine is worth 5, 6, 7, 8 as well, so a very good scoring Grasslands engine, but in practice it's not going to get that high, because you're not going to be able to do all your tucks and draws, and you have to take actions like the forest, which is kind of weak. And you need to play birds. Otherwise you can't use the Wagtail. But such is the pressure of a very quickly set up wetlands, right? You feel compelled to need to do stuff, and do stuff they shall. Important for Sim, they are winning as many ends of rounds as they can. They didn't win the first ends of round, which may end up biting them at the end of things. But we'll see. Frustrating that the stream keeps dying, but can't do much about that. And Sim really needs to qualify the Nectar in the forest, because if they can't do that, that is a really big loss on their behalf. They may have to do like food twice or something. They're just so food poor. Like, yes, they've got this very strong engine in the grasslands, but no real ability to keep up with the speed of this wetlands engine, as you can see. So that's super interesting. And they do end up playing this GoldenEye. How good is that GoldenEye? I think it's only good for... It's good for 3 eggs plus winning Nectar. I mean, it's a good play. Like a 10-point play, which is kind of crazy for such a low-value bird. But... yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, you've got to qualify Nectar. You have to win the Nectars against the Wetlands player, otherwise you're having a bad time. As we have seen time and time again. Then goes Bald Eagle. And we're gonna get the final scores. So this is where everything's gonna become very interesting. So we can kind of see the scores tick up in the Sim side of things. Wow, okay, we get the zoom in. And you can see that the full tuck is really just not scoring well at all. And it's really going to be how many tucks are you able to get through. I was like, this is counting up very slowly. And look at that, just got through 96 tucks with a final score of 133. So there you go. That is an example of a full tuck game, courtesy of Orthalion. I think the key principle here was just the speed in which was able to get set up, right? Getting the engine online very, very, very quickly, being able to turn every card into a point, having a great deal of efficiency in the engine as well. I think if you are going to go for the full tuck, the point scoring birds are obviously helpful. They help fill space. Chiff Chaff is super good in that situation as well. But having the hummingbird out of the wetlands was really smart. If they had had the hummingbird inside of the wetlands, that's one less opportunity to score points. That takes a point off the engine. You know, they used the full engine at least 11 times, like the fully set up engine at least 11 times. And that would have been 1 point less, and that would have been 122 to 121. So, I mean, maybe not enough to tilt the game, but that's still something. But I suspect they used it a few more times. Or if the hummingbird was part of it, it would have been used a few more times, cutting the number of points earned even further. So, if you are going for the full tuck, we are learning that you desperately need to have that hummingbird or some kind of efficiency to kind of get the birds down into the game as fast as possible. Some way of getting 2 resources at once seems absolutely critical, so it could be in this case it was the hummingbird and the grasslands action, which probably seems to be the most efficient. I suppose a chipping sparrow in the forest could also do a job. Maybe like a set of tragopan at a stretch could also do the job. Arguably, maybe that's even better. Himalayan Mona would be ideal, of course. Extra food and an egg is pretty nice, so... Really illustrative example of the full tuck kind of archetype coming through. Believe it or not, the second game in this series was also a wetland-centric game. So we're gonna dive into game 2. And we missed the keep. Recording is a little bit jank. We'll get there, I promise. Alright, so we have them going first here, so that must mean that they won game 1, and must have won game 1 by a larger margin than 12 points, which makes sense. Sim here has a much better start. Black-throated diver, they've got a source of food and the acorn woodpecker, and they've got the little bustard. I think, you know, that is a pretty nice starting hand. I don't know if I keep the acorn woodpecker here personally, but, you know, that is, you know, it is a plus food bird. It does score points eventually as well, so I think, you know, not a terrible keep by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you know, with black-throated diver, you think you can probably do a little bit better than that, but it's neither here nor there. It is a decision they get to make. It looks like Prairie Manager or Data Analyst. No. Yes, that's Prairie Manager or Data Analyst. It can't be Ranger because we don't have Asia. Meanwhile, Orthalion gets a Snow Bunting and a Common Grackle. I think these days my wisdom would be maybe Grackle Forest is not as bad as people think it is. But also Common Grackle into the wetlands is not bad either. It is absolutely an interesting and viable game plan. I think, you know, the exact specifics of which are things that will be debated. I think Visionary Leader is a little bit surprising here. I know that low bird scores, a backup birder is not a great bonus card. In fact, I think that's one of the... It's a bonus card that I think traps a lot of players into a bad playstyle. So I can understand not going for it, but... yeah. Alright, let us get into things then. We'll go Black-Throated Diver for Sim, 100% lock it in. Nothing in the tray super interesting. Eastern Rosella are probably the most interesting bird there, but who cares? And Orthalion's doing the traditional, get the Common Grackle into the game, and in it goes. Some pondering options. Do you take the Rosella? No, you don't take the Rosella. You never take the Rosella here. You need way more pieces to make a Rosella work. I definitely want to look into the Rosella at some point. I think it's one of the most interesting birds in the game. Very double-edged, very, very exciting when Rosella is played. Lazuli Bunting, maybe that's interesting. The Clark's Nutcracker potentially tempting Sim there, and finds the Goldeneye here. Maybe the little owl, but that reveals a maned duck. So now you've got Common Grackle maned duck. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting game now for Orthalion to manage his cards. So both the Grackle and the maned duck are going to be demanding resources, so we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to how he's able to manage that as he builds out another Wetlands engine. I was going to say this is one of the few games where the little owl might actually get played because the Goldeneye really needs some cavity nest to support it, so... Another white wagtail comes up, so I think, yeah, absolutely, you take that. I don't know about taking Penguin, but I certainly don't hate it. Blue Throat here seems to be essential. If you give your opponent Blue Throat and main Duck, that seems like a disaster. In goes main Duck, and now we have to see Orthalion balance things out. Goodbye, little owl. Unfortunate. No real forest options still, just this acorn woodpecker. Maybe that was why they took food in the manner they did just that turn. Looks like Orthalion's thinking of denying this Franklin skull, I think. These days, not many people care too much about it. But I think maybe you get rid of Snow Bunting here. Okay, I mean, I don't think either bird's likely to get played, but Snow Bunting is a kind of hedge against any tucking options. I think this Ruff is really interesting for Sim, I think. Yeah, definitely tempted into the Ruff. I think Ruff is such a strong bird, especially when you got Black-Throated Diver and a lot of surplus cards lying around. It's really annoying because it probably means you can't play the Wagtail. And it is not good for Prairie Manager, but I don't know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Savi's Warbler comes up. Now maybe that's gonna be a tempter for Orthalion to drive extra cards. Indeed, it's not going to tempt them. That's interesting. I would have thought that maybe that tempts them. I think, you know, with the Grackle and the main Duck, you are running a pretty significant card deficit at the moment. Savi's Warbler is a very, very playable bird. Only costing two seeds, because we don't have any worms in our supply. Oh, we are spending the egg, and we are indeed going back for Savi's Warbler. Alright, I very much agree with this plan. I think we've seen that Savi's Warbler giving out the free card is not so... I mean, it's obviously going to help your opponent, give them additional resources, but pushing Savi, it's just so good for you in this game. Like, it's a +2 bird, as in it scores you 2 points every time you activate it, because we're going to be running a card deficit this game anyway. And they've already got great card access in this Black-Throated Diver and the Ruff, so I mean, what's the worst that could happen by playing this bird? Really, I think this is really, really smart. I wish we could see what was going on. Looks like we just... Both players are doing some drawing here. Alright, apologies for that interruption. We can see... the only thing that's happened is there's been some drawer action, and there's a Nightingale in the tray, and a Mourning Dove now. You could best believe, I think that's going to be it's going to be a signal to go tuck and play here for sure. 100% lock it in, final answer. Yeah, Snow Bunting can definitely go away. You're never seeing much Snow Bunting action in this game. And I think importantly, again, the speed at which Orthalion's been able to set up this strategy is kind of is the fundamental reason that's going to be successful. This one here, this one that's moving around now, this one, this is my mouse. So you can see that, you know, we're still at the start of round 1, we're still finishing up round 1, we've already got 3 birds played. That kind of ruthless efficiency, afforded by the Grackle, mind you, being able to lay these eggs and get the main Duck in, which then affords the ability to play Savi's Warbler. So valuable, so unbelievably valuable. Even this Goldcrest could be fun at this game, but we're not going to see that. But now you can see that, you know, we just need to take food. In fact, we don't even take food, we just take cards. We just play Nightingale immediately, draw, play the Mourning Dove. I'm going to play Mourning Dove first, actually, then you can play the Nightingale. And just really accelerate this game. Sim opting not to do White Wagtail, I think that's correct. Just get the Ruff into the game, this time around, and see what happens. There is a Raven in the tray. I don't know if you caught that, but there is a little Raven business going on. With Orthalion going first in this round, it'll be curious to see if he draws first to deny. Yeah, it looks like he's drawing to deny. I mean, or not? Leave the Raven? I mean, I would leave the Raven. I don't think the Raven is that scary in this game. But sufficiently spooked. I think that's fair. This is still Oceania, so I think people were still thinking Ravens are very, very, very high value. I think they've cooled off a lot in this Asia world. But yeah, I think now, still in a really good spot. I think taking the time to deny the Raven, it means one less way of losing the game, and there's still plenty of time left in this game to do stuff. They just need to figure out the correct sequence in which to do things. I think step 1 is Mourning Dove, and then get the Nightingale in, and then pretty much just start figuring out birds to play. I think that's why they kept this Red Eye Vireo. We know that the play another birds work really well in Wetlands Engines. Ghoul's Finch is technically a play another bird. The Vero absolutely is, and so accumulate a bunch of those and then play some really strong birds seems like a really good strategy. Meanwhile, Sim's going to deny this Orthalion Gull. I absolutely need to deny that, although I'm not sure Orthalion would have played it. Are they going Nightingale first? Yeah, I think you can do that now because you've already taken the card action. That's fine. You get some extra food. Not a big deal. It's very much on Sim now to come up with a game plan to counteract the speed of this Wetlands engine, and you know, it's tough. It's tough as a Wagtail player because you do have to do all of your actions. This Downy Woodpecker is a fantastic find. Another really good bird to be playing. Catbird is definitely going to be interesting. I don't know if you want to play Catbird this game, but it is going to ask a question. Do you want Morning Dove or do you want Catbird? Because Catbird can do some pretty silly things. Maybe Black-Headed Gull. They're kind of getting everything that they could possibly want. You have to make a decision here. Do you do Morning Dove, Black-Headed Gull, or Catbird? And I think I agree in that getting rid of the Black-Headed Gull is the correct choice. I don't know if I agree about the Catbird. I think Morning Dove would be more than enough here, but... Oh, we're going to go start playing some other birds. So we're going to play the Cowbird. Okay. I don't know if I like that timing, but... Okay. It's interesting that they played that. I think that hurts them quite a bit. Well, I don't know if it hurts them, but... I don't think that we're going to see too many eggs in the game. Especially now that this GoldenEye goes in, so I don't know. I don't know about the Cowbird. But it's, you know, it's going to be good for at least having more egg actions. 2 more, so maybe a 6-point play if they lay eggs 3 times. I'm not really sure it was worth the play, but... especially since they've already laid eggs, and I think that's just such a reason not to do it. But oh well, it is what it is. So then they'll take cards, they'll probably give out a seed and play this Catbird. Finding some good birds here. Ash-throated is kind of interesting for sure. They are discarding an egg. Interesting. No, I don't think you discard an egg, do you? No. You want as many eggs as possible. Pill-eated Woodpecker would have been fun. Not today. Alright. That's the food for the Catbird. Get a Catbird into the game. You can either Catbird the main duck or Catbird Savi's Wobbler or Catbird whatever you want to Catbird, honestly. The Grackle, Savi, whatever you like. You get the best ROI on the Grackle. 1 card becomes 2 points, which is best, but you've got to be able to use those cards, so... We'll see what they figure out. Maybe the Catbird is actually... Maybe the Bronze Cowbird is thinking ahead to the Vireo play. Because we know they're going to play the Vireo at some point. And when Sim lays eggs, they can lay on the Star Nest, which qualifies them for the 3rd end of round. Maybe that's the thought process. Mannequin, Eastern Imperial Eagle. These are exactly the kind of birds that you want to be finding as the Wetlands player. Mannequin is in particular such a wonderful find. You have no reservation whatsoever, just about playing this immediately and getting it into the game. Sim has tough decisions to make. Oh, they're laying eggs, okay. We are going to get the extra point off the Cowbird. Nifty. And the problem with Sim's board right now is they haven't really been able to expand into the forest in a productive way, so there's a lot riding on them. I think they really need to think and, you know, potentially get this Cassin's Finch into the game instead. I don't know, it's tough. I don't really like playing Cassin because you want the extra food, but you also need to be scoring points and you need to get those bonus birds in. See how many bonus birds you can qualify. I don't hate the black woodpecker. It is a very strong bird. It gives you extra food. But I think also that's what the acorn woodpecker is for, and I think that's why I don't really like these birds. It's your plus food bird, and I think it's not strong enough to warrant it. So now you kind of have 2 non-point scorers in the forest, or 1 conditional point scorer. A bit tricky, and Orthalion actually wins the end of round, which, as we know, is a very, very good sign for the Wetlands player. And we see red cockaded woodpecker in the tray. That is exactly the kind of target bird that Orthalion will want. That will be a really excellent forest play for them. They can then just play 3 birds into their forest, get the bonus cards, and continue playing a bunch of really, really strong birds. There we go. As immediately they take this red cockaded woodpecker. They're repeating Savi's warbler, which I find interesting, but that's fine. You could argue you take Nectar here, just to qualify Nectar, because you're not going to win any of the Nectar races, so who cares? Oh yeah, they are going to take Nectar after all. Okay, I think that's correct. I think you want to take Nectar. And we can just ditch all the other stuff we don't need. Now, I don't know all the double play birds that they have. They can do I think they need to take food. I think they need to take cards one more time. Which I think they should probably play the mannequin first, so they can catch the egg lay and qualify the EOR. And that also allows them the opportunity to take food one more time. Take eggs one more time and get the food they need to do the triple play. So yeah, in goes mannequin. I think you could argue that should be with Nectar, but ultimately it doesn't matter. We know that qualifying Nectar is just a nicety for the Wetlands Engines from the analysis that we've done. And goes Little Busted. Mechanical Engineer, so Simmer's finding some good stuff. That's good. And back to drawing Sister Cola, another really nice bird to be finding. Probably not the bird you play at the moment. Dynamic Puffin is good to find, just from the perspective that your opponent doesn't have it. I believe they're doubling Savi's Warbler at the moment, so they can qualify Visionary Leader. Which I don't know if I agree with that, but don't hate that idea either. You can see the logic. Unfortunately for them, like, Sim isn't finding things like Benelli's Eagle and things like that that would really make it quite miserable if you are giving out that many cards. They do have so many cards, you can't really use them all. Plenty of cards to throw around for resources as well, so, you know, that's the risky play, but as a Wetlands player, they are in a really dominant position concerning the game state, so maybe they're just not that worried. But here comes the big triple play, so in goes this Kinglet. Then you can do the Frio, that's fine. Then the Downy Woodpecker. I imagine they're arranging these with some kind of data analyst in mind, or site selection, or something like that. Or maybe not. They find Omni or Passerine. Passerine's already maxed, that's very nice. You can take Passerine. And their board is already looking really, really nice. They've got plenty of options available to them. Now they just need to figure out what to do with the rest of the turns. Do you aim for this Ash-Throated? Like, Ash-Throated could be really nice because you've got, like, Sister Cola into Ash-Throated could be really good. You still got Gould's Finch, which works really well. Even this Cassowary that's come up is, like, moderately interesting, right? Just as a way to score even more points, so... Like, what they could do is they could draw, take the Cassowary, double the Nightingale, get to... fruit and just play it. Like, that is definitely an option. Oh, Cassowary is gone, Sim picked it up. Okay, makes sense. And now they're doubling the maned duck. Fair enough. think they are starting to think about this ash-throated play. Because I can see that they're keeping Sister Cola. They're like consciously not tucking it. And I think they're also thinking about the Starling. I don't think the Starling is that good for them this game though, I think. Sister Cola into... I guess Bobolink is also viable. Just count the nest types. Which one do you have more of? Just do the ash-throated or the Bobolink. Just get a lot of points. Seems really good. How many... yeah, I just know the ash-throated is much better. They don't have any ground nests, so... Yeah, I managed to see what do you do with the Goldfinch? This is a tough one. If you do Sister Cola into Ash Throater, then you don't. Then you do like Mannequin Goldfinch, Eastern Imperial Eagle, but the Goldfinch really doesn't. It's really only adding 1 point, so who cares? So I guess there's some decisions still to be made around what to do here for Orthalion. It's not completely straightforward. They do have this hobby, so I guess you could Goldfinch the hobby. Goldfinch it over the Savi. Yeah, it could work actually. It's not a bad idea. Don't hate that idea at all. That seems pretty good, in fact. I like Sims having a bit of a think. Speaking of, I don't know why they played White Wagtail into their grasslands. I think that's probably should have gone into the wetlands. I think the removing the ability to max out Prairie Manager, given that they're going to get so many cards from Savi, is probably a mistake. Maybe they just don't think they can get 5 birds into their grasslands, which is also a fair concession, in which case I can understand putting the White Wagtail there for the extra egg access. I mean, you're going to have plenty of cards. Laying eggs again, that is extremely surprising. Maybe they just don't have enough food to play the birds they want to play. I would have imagined this Chaffinch would have gone straight in for Sim. Throw it into your forest. Tuck a bunch of cards. You've got so many. Looks like Orthalion's going to deny it as a red knot. Which is fine. I don't think Sim was likely to take it. I think if they wanted it, they could have had it. And we had double it, and Orthalion is doubling the main duck again. Kiwi! Well, that's certainly a nice surprise. That is better than Ash Throated. That can definitely go into the forest or something like that. Doing Wilson Storm Petrol, that's a bit surprising. I guess it's just a sign of how bad their cards are, which is really unlucky for Sim. You know, Wetlands players, they tend to find all the good cards, because they tend to draw a lot. And so, Orthalion's got some decisions to be making here, I think. Is Goldfinch in play? Is Sister Cola in play? EIE is definitely in play. Fortunately a bit late for the Grey Warbler, but that's okay. In any case, the plan starts with drawing, so... This will be a very interesting take. So, gonna take the worm. Okay. So Bobolink. So getting rid of the Sister Cola. Okay. Don't know how I feel about getting rid of Sister Cola, but I can understand. Like they have a great deal many excellent cards. Longspur is probably the first good card that Sim has been gifted. I'm really surprised they haven't just played this Chaffinch. I feel like this Chaffinch should have just gone in a while ago and tried to turn as many of these cards into points. I don't know if I agree about putting it into the grasslands either. Ooh, okay. Okay. Skipping the Black Woodpecker as well. I don't know about that. In goes Kiwi. Yeah, it makes sense to play Kiwi. I guess we could have done... Is that a Goldsfinch? I think... Correct to get rid of Visionary Leader, I think. With what we have, makes sense. Dive Specialist is a keep, and I guess you keep Forester here. No, it's 7 birds with seeds, so I think you take Bird Feeder and play Goldsfinch. No, take Bird Feeder. Bird Feeder, Goldsfinch. Yeah, there we go. No, wait. Can you do Flycatcher? I think you can do... I think you do... Dive Specialist, Bird Feeder. You play Goldsfinch. You double the... I'm not going to do the math, but you can definitely double the Nightingale, worst comes to worst. And you can always play Flycatcher with the Goldsfinch and Eastern Imperial Eagle with the Mannequin. And you're just sitting so happy with life, like you are. You've got a full board. Just really just... You know, this is like the archetypal play, tuck and play kind of board. It's really illustrative. Orthalion, such a good player. I mean, both of them are very fantastic players, don't get me wrong, but... this is, you know, one of the most difficult tournaments to win in the world, and... You know, Orthalion does a really good job capitalizing on these two Wetlands Engines. Illustrating just how powerful they are. Yeah, just count it out. Draw, grab a Nectar, play Goldsfinch. Be happy with life. They may not even need to double Nightingale here. I'm gonna skip the power, interesting. I'm surprised they're not giving out Nectar for the extra 2 points, but I can also justify it, you know, it's like, why give your opponent resources when you don't really need them? It's 2 points, who cares? Chaffinch finally goes in for Sim, so that'll be really strong egg action. So maybe it's going to be egg, draw, egg in play, maybe? A Turtle Dove. I mean, this is just so Wetlands Engines, just finding every bird you could possibly ever want to play. They have to be a little bit careful here to make sure they've counted correctly and that they've got enough eggs to do everything they want to do. Here comes the Nectar. Okay, they're just withholding the Nectar a little bit. By Turtle Dove. Do they have the right number of cards? Just double check that. Yes, they do. No, they don't. They tucked one too many cards. Oh well. Free egg from the... Oh, what? Why? Okay, I guess this does work. Okay, yeah, this works, okay. I was thinking you had to double pay with the thing, but... Yeah, this is, you can do this is fine. Yeah, 2 really massive egg turns, but... Probably not enough to save Sim at this point. In comes this Mannequin, in goes Goldsfinch. That's gonna get the Bird Feeder maxed out. Ash-throated's gonna max out. Oh, not gonna. It's gonna max out Diet Specialist and get 8 eggs from cavity nests. So truly an impressive game here from Orthalion. Beating out the white wagtail player in bird points is never a good sign. Really, it looks like they're going to just dominate across the board. Things are looking kind of bleak, but then here come the big points coming in from Orthalion. Plenty of tucks this game. Another 70 tucker game. Finishing with a crazy high score of 171. Like, that is a insane game. Insane score for a final. Yeah, I mean, just absolutely masterful. 2 different takes on the Wetlands Engines in one final. The full tuck, and then the tuck and play. Both executed with precision, and really illustrating the core principles of how to make these Wetlands Engines work. So, yeah, very complimentary of what Orthalion was able to do in these games, and just so unbelievably instructive for everyone looking to improve their Wetlands Engines games. But I think that's actually it. I think these are the last games I wanted to showcase. So this is going to be a massive, annoying video. I make no apologies for that. Anyone who's actually struggled through the entire video, kudos. I don't care about cutting this into a million bite-sized pieces and maximizing YouTube algorithm or whatever nonsense. I just want to get the info out there and allow people to learn from it as best they can. So this probably is going to take most people a couple attempts to get through the whole thing, but it is what it is. But I hope you found it interesting. I found it interesting. And yeah, we'll see if this knowledge actually helps us at all. I certainly feel like I've learned a lot from this exercise. I had a chat with Ren about some of the data as well, and they also thought the data was really interesting, and they didn't have anything to add, but they were certainly very impressed with some of the insights that really just formalized the learnings that we kind of already know as top players. We just kind of know these things work. But having it formalized in data and being able to see how it all comes together and how it can all work is very illuminating. Anyway, I'll quit the waffle. Hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, see you in the next tournament.